Hello, everyone. Hello, Cleveland. This is the 5th-year anniversary show
Hard to believe.
of the Digital Today's
You are
podcast.
you are severely underdressed for an anniversary show. You know that, right?
Oh, I am, but it is hot down here. I
Oh
get
yeah.
fans going. I get ACs going upstairs, just trying to cool the downstairs. It's just been brutal here, and it's not letting up. We kid about it on the podcast and on YouTube a little bit. The heat is just not letting up. It's just started about a month ago, and it's just continuing, and it's just been brutal. But
Tomorrow here is supposed to be close to 90. It was warm today. It's just been warm for a while, except for the day we got 2 inches of rain.
yeah,
Cooled
and
right
any
off of that.
thoughts we had? Any thoughts we had of moving to Florida these last couple of weeks or so? Just we're not going anywhere with a lot of heat. So
I've been to Florida once.
really,
Yeah, just once. It was in 1982. And we flew out of Montreal because at that point it was cheaper to fly out of Montreal than it was Boston, even though we landed in Boston. It was freezing rain in 32 when we left Montreal. We landed in Tampa about 1:30 in the morning. So you get on the jetway and the air conditioning from the plane is stopped. And it felt like you just walk into a warm, wet blanket in late March or whatever it was. And that was the end of my wanting to go to Florida.
we've been a few times. Florida is all right. I mean, I don't mind it down there, but it is, it is tough.
I suppose, in December or January or maybe February on the other side of winter when you've had enough of the cold, 65, 70 is going to feel really good.
Yeah, you want to stay away from like May to September down in Florida.
I have a cousin right now that's in Costa Rica.
Oof.
Once in a lifetime opportunity, I understand, but July?
Yeah.
But anyway, the anniversary shows I remember watching as a kid were Carson's because they're the only time that he was on during regular hours. And so he and Ed McMahon would get dressed up in the tuxedos and all that. And they would play the annual clip of Ed Ames, hitting the tomahawk between the legs. Do you have the clip of the banner attacking me or something like that all queued up and ready to go?
I don't. I should go find that though. That was a fun time doing that.
So congratulations, 5 years.
Yes. Yep. 5 years of Digital to Dice. And I see a lot of people in the chat room here. We're going to be sending out some invitations for some of you guys to join us real soon. Albert, thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Cleveland Baseball, thank you so much. Ray's podcast is going super strong as well. The Around the Layout podcast. Thanks for coming by.
Apparently,
Ray.
he smells super strong too, according to that. My deodorant bill at 10 a.m.
Oh, jeepers! I was at the gym at 10 a.m. and it was hot. Yeah, who would have thunk it, right?
I didn't think
thank you.
This is our 231st episode. I never thought we would get that.
ID said it's 95 here with 78% humidity. Well, that's what it's here too. I mean, it's kind of the same.
If you ever want to know what your mouth feels like,
yeah. And thanks, John. And
John, I say hi.
Speaking of ID, we have him on the line right now.
Hey, how you guys doing? It's so honored to be here with you guys. I really am.
Thank you.
You guys do an awesome job, and I really cannot believe it's been 5 years.
Right? I mean, maybe 2, but not
right.
5.
I'm thinking like 2-year anniversary, maybe 3. Maybe there was a year I missed somewhere.
No,
5. No way.
Yeah. It just goes on, and just it's just crazy. It really is. It's and we look back to the 5 years, everything that we've been through, everything that you've been through. ID,
oh, absolutely.
And here we are, all coming out the other end of this.
And here's the other thing: is you have to come up with subjects to talk about every week.
Yeah,
you need content to refresh people's ideas and think scheduling guests. I mean, it is a full-time job really to be doing what you guys are doing.
It's about 10-15 hours a week.
Yeah,
without going into actually taping and that just talking things over and all that.
Right, trying to okay, let's talk about this, and we can introduce this subject, and it's a lot of work. I know. I run a war game podcast every Saturday, and
we average over the course of the 5 years 46.2 episodes per year.
Oof. That's
We
good.
we almost go every week.
We
Almost every
tried
week.
it, and you'd think that the first couple of years you get going through them, and obviously we've done some topics a couple times and different takes on all that. The Floby, yeah. But yeah, 46.2 shows a year, and that's with health challenges and heat and
Work,
date
yeah.
schedule, and yeah, I mean that's wow.
Yeah, I mean that's taking into consideration sicknesses, family emergencies, you
Sure.
name it. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
really good.
Yeah, and quite honestly, there's sometimes we just don't want it. So much going on, we don't want to record.
Right.
And not that we don't want to record, but it's just like, something's going on. I'm bad. I'm not feeling well, or whatever it is. And it's like we soldier through and put out a show, and somehow the show comes out pretty good most times,
Mhm.
And
Absolutely.
so yeah, P-Jet comes by. Thanks for coming by,
Thank you,
P-Jet,
sir.
and Jeremy as well. Yes. David Bowie, 5 years. That's all we've got. Yep. So
We did the Black Friday show the first year, right?
yeah, I think we did do the Black Friday show the first year.
And then in the last couple of years, we started with the Black Friday. What did you buy on Black Friday?
Yeah.
And
Had I known we'd be doing anniversary shows in the middle of the summer, I would have started this thing in the winter.
yeah, well, yeah.
Because it is miserable right now. We're not used to this up here. It is really miserable, Speaking of miserable climates, this guy here, I don't know where he's from. This guy is crazy. This Dave Little guy. We never know where he's from.
Parts unknown.
Cleveland.
For sure. Hey, Dave, how you doing, buddy?
Good, man. How you doing, ID?
I'm doing good. I'm doing
Good to
good.
see you guys. Congratulations, man.
Thank
That
you.
is such an accomplishment.
Thank you, Dave.
Thank you.
As we got a few more people jumping in the chat room here, and yeah, it's Ron was like trying to figure out like what could we talk about, and it's like I don't know, it just kind of just keeps going. I mean, we met a ton of great people. We continue to meet great people. We continue to support everybody. People support us. It's just been super fun. It's just been a great ride. It's been a great ride is what it is. And I can honestly say for myself, every night I come down here and I'm doing something, whether I'm working or playing, and I get somebody on YouTube I'm watching. And then I go to bed and I listen in bed. I would rather do that than listen to watch modern sports. I really do,
Yeah, I'm curious how this got started. How did you connect, and how did you decide, hey, let's do this podcast?
He started to watch my football stuff at lunchtime because my channel's will be 6 full years old next month. And we got to we just got chatting back and forth. And I did some stuff for him for his hockey league. We did a weekly show on that kind of fizzled out, but we both enjoyed really working together. And
for his live hockey league, his hockey league at the rink with
for his roller hockey league,
right? Okay.
And he had done a couple. You went down to the ocean or the park or something like that.
I was filming around town and just kind of talking about how I'm going from video games to tabletop games. And then at one point, I left the video game podcast I did. I was like, I just don't play games anymore, guys. So it's no sense me coming on to a video game show.
Right.
And I says, what are the chances people would listen to a podcast on the tabletop? Because I got all the equipment to do it. I know how to do it. So I got talking to Ron. It's like, well, Ron, you've been doing this a while. I'm the new guy. So it's kind of like Felix and Oscar. It really was. I was learning and enjoying the ride, and he was kind of the old grizzled veteran. And so and he basically he said, he goes, no, I don't want to do a podcast. He goes, I'm already doing one, or I'm doing something else. I got too much time doing it. I goes, I don't have the time to do it. So I says, all right, well, I think I'm going to do one anyway. And he goes, well, I'll do the first show with you, and all kidding aside, that's what it was. He did the first show with me, maybe the first two, and it just went so well. And he said, let's just keep going with this.
Yeah.
That's what it was.
And so here we are, 231 shows later. My first podcast I ever did was for college football back in 2005. It was called In the Bleachers. And the person I did it with was a group of 4 of us. And we had a blast. That was the year that Reggie Bush didn't win the Heisman, and Vince Young, didn't win for Texas. That great season with Southern Cal and Texas. So we did that, and that kind of petered out. We would record those, I think, on a Tuesday or Wednesday night, and do them, and someone would doll them up. And the guy I did it with is now an NFL official.
Really?
Yeah, Brian Sikowski. I believe he was a line judge or a side judge. He had worked his way up the NCAA ranks. Started at like Division II or Division III, and I believe he was an official at the Gator Bowl a couple years ago, and he made the jump last year to the NFL. So
fantastic.
So that's how I got
Wow.
started in podcasting.
That's great. But yeah, we just kept it going, and we didn't know if anybody would listen, how it would go over. I mean, podcasts. I mean, it was 19 when we started it, right?
Yeah.
And
that seemed kind of late in the podcast game, to be honest.
Yeah, it kind of did, because everything, the video game podcast was fading out because everything was going to YouTube and Twitch, because now you could do video. And when I started the video game podcasting, when I was doing that was back in the mid 2000s. So the technology wasn't what it was today. And so the podcasts were great for that stuff. You got your video game reviews, listen to the podcast, but then you get your video game reviews and actually watch the game played on Twitch and YouTube. Kind of killed the kind of podcasting thing there. So, but we were wondering, how would this go over? And it went over well. And I think, the YouTube channels are great and the Twitch channels are great, but there is something to be said about just being able to listen to something and not have to focus on the screen.
Right.
And a lot of people say they listen in their cars when they're driving to work, or they're going on vacation, or some people like when they're doing yard work, because that's what I do. When I have yard work going on, I got my headphones and I'm listening to stuff. And it's great if you don't have to be watching it, if you can just kind of listen to people talk. And let's be honest, I listen to a lot of podcasts, and it's great hearing people talk about stuff you're interested in. That's
absolutely.
And that's kind of the whole magic of this thing, is we're talking about things that everybody here, everybody in the chat room, and everybody that's going to be on the show tonight has dealt with, good or bad. And you never know from week to week what we say, what we talk about is going to affect different people. Some people are going to be like, oh my gosh, that exact same thing happened to me. Or it's like, something else. It's just, people just relate because we talk about what we play. And it just kind of works. And we feed off the community. Let's be honest, Ron, right?
Oh, absolutely.
When we see what's going on, on Facebook or Delphi or YouTube or wherever it is, wherever the community is, we feed off of that. And we say, hey, did you see what happened there? Let's talk about that. Good or bad,
Yeah.
And most of the stuff we do is good. We try not to have a negative show, but we do talk about things in the community. Most of the bad stuff is kind of funny, bad stuff,
When we started 5 years ago, a lot of it was just message board stuff. I mean, our Red Sox fan was doing some videos and all that. And that, I don't know when you, Dave Little, started Sports Sims and Replays on Facebook, but that's grown to 4,000 members.
Yeah. Including Kurt Schilling.
Wow,
Yeah.
nice.
job,
Who also
Dave.
joined our Facebook group, as a matter of
good.
fact.
Cool.
When I saw that, I went, okay, who's the wise guy that wants to be Kurt Schilling? And so I clicked on the profile and went, no kidding, that's Kurt Schilling. That's not someone pretending to be Kurt Schilling, but
Kurt Schilling is a game developer. He's
Yes.
he's into this. So
that's crazy. So your group has 4,000 a lot of active members, and ID, your weekly war game podcast has a ton of people who watch.
Yep.
How did that get started?
It's kind of the same thing you guys. I saw a guy online and I posted a couple messages. I'm like, we should get together and talk sometime. And we decided to do it. And the first show, we had one person show up, and we're like, okay.
Yep.
But we had a pretty good chemistry together, which you guys have. And so we kind of said, let's try it a couple more times and see what happens. And before you know it, we're coming up on our fifth anniversary in November. So,
oh, wow.
Yeah. And it's I will say this, you will not last a year or 2 years or 3 years unless the two hosts mesh together.
Oh, they have
And
to.
I will
They
say
absolutely
that
have
you two guys mesh together perfectly. You're perfectly synergized together, and that's what keeps the show, that drives everyone to watch the show for sure.
We click like day one.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I don't know what it was. It just when the first thing we ever did, it just worked. And it was like, wow, this might actually work, because we've all worked with other people that you just kind of fight with for space on the show, or someone's
Mhm.
talking over each other. No one knows how to communicate and make it work. And I've done that even when I've done play-by-play. I've had people like talking over me, and I'm like, dude, you got to let me finish the play, then you can come in and talk about the play, And with Ron and I, it's just, we feed off each other. We just kind of knew who was going to say what and when to feed off each other, when to reply, when to like just let the guy continue to talk, and so that just kind of works.
Mhm.
We
Yeah,
both
how many times have you seen a TV show where an actor leaves and they get a new actor come in and the show dies because
Yeah.
it just doesn't have the same personality. It doesn't have the same, kind of format. It just doesn't work as well. People turn off of that. And you're successful if people keep coming back every week and they like the way things work together.
And you guys bring different perspectives.
Mhm.
Ron is a baseball guy, a baseball historian, and Dave comes on and says, I don't know anything about this baseball business. So Ron kind of fills in, and it's neat to see how Dave's enjoyment of the game of baseball has grown over the years, and he's doing his own baseball stuff. Dave is the quintessential hockey
Yep.
expert, and he brings that perspective, and Ron, you do a good job of teeing up Dave to talk about the things that he really knows, and so you really get substance from both of you that is unique, and it's not just the same guy on two different screens saying the same thing back
Right.
and forth like a
Yeah.
little echo chamber.
Yeah,
Well,
appreciate that, Dave.
the other thing is that there wasn't a lot of non-baseball stuff on YouTube as far as gaming was concerned, and that's one of the things that Dave has done really well. And let's talk about Dave like he's not here, and the fact that Dave likes to play a lot of different games. He's not set into, although he has his favorite games now, but let's try this and let's try that, as opposed to, I've been doing this for a while. This is what I like,
Yeah.
go through this and curious about this and but that. And I think the other thing that has worked for Dave and I is that we both have broadcast experience.
Yeah,
Mm.
that too. Yeah.
We
Yep.
both have done some sort of sportscasting on a level.
And that makes a difference, because you have to make it listenable.
Right.
It really does. Speaking of listenable,
Uh-oh.
Oh my
Oh,
God.
my
goodness.
They let anybody in this show, don't
Yeah,
they?
we will.
Oh, I got all my friends here. This is
The Hall of
great.
Famer.
Yeah, I wore the special APPA Convention 2020 shirt just because
nice.
Nice.
it actually it's a dig on the Astros fans. It says roll
Ah.
dice, don't bang trash cans.
Nice.
There's a huge APPA tournament today in Chicago.
Oh yeah, that's a big
we're
one.
taping this. I think Kevin Burkhardt is there, and so I saw him post a couple pictures on Facebook, and there must be 75, 80 people there today.
Yeah, it keeps growing and growing, all those conventions too. I mean,
And-
Strat
and-
too. I mean, Strat's are the same thing. They're growing a
Yep.
lot of their things too.
Utah Mike brought it up in a comment on for those of you who are listening later, but the pandemic, and that did change everything. I mean, Stratomatic said that was their best year ever, was 2020, and I'm sure that APPA had a pretty good year in 2020 as well, just because we were a captive audience for whatever that wasn't there.
Yep, it's a broken record, but I always bring that up with you guys in the nightly fireside chats you guys had, and that like kind of solidified, I think, this digital dice community, because you had guys still contributing today that were doing those chats,
Yep.
And that was a great service you guys did. Not just, I mean, my wife was watching them, put it that way. I mean, she has like no interest in anything we do, but she was like, "Hey, what's Dave saying tonight?" So it was great
we
stuff.
went solid 2 or 3 months, like nightly.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it was there was therapy for us as well as for everybody else, because just I was out of work. They wouldn't let me work. They wouldn't even pay me, because I was self-employed. So I was like taking a huge financial hit and just mental hit like everybody else. So I got to come on and talk and play a ton of games. And every night we had something going on. And we didn't even talk sports all the time. We talked whatever it was we needed to do to help everyone get
the
through.
night that they threw us off because we were showing Floby ads.
Yeah.
Oh,
I remember that.
We were showing YouTube's. I still don't get that if you're showing on your channel, you're showing something that's on YouTube. How do you get in trouble for that? It's if it's on YouTube, then anybody can watch it. It's not like I'm showing you anything behind a paywall or anything like that.
Those are great times. And Ron had his banner wrestling match that one night.
Right.
Was that during the pandemic?
Still hanging up beside me, but yes.
Banner.
Well,
Hey guys, I'm going to sign off and let the other people on. So, Dave, Ron, congratulations.
Thank you, sir.
Yep.
Bottom of my heart. You guys don't know how important you are to the rest of us. So, thank you all.
Indeed.
And
Thank you so
Tebow
much.
and Dave, I love you guys too.
See you, ID.
Love you, man.
Bye, D.
This is fun stuff. You got like Hollywood Squares of nice baseball here.
We get 8. We can do the Octobox from Red Zone, right?
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, so that was a great time. I mean, it's just solidified everything. Is the following. You guys have grown too. I mean, your Facebook and isn't that how many people you have?
We have 1,500 members in the Digital Dice Facebook group.
Wow, it's. You know what I'm noticing on that too is I'm seeing more and more like new guys coming in and like getting excited about the games. The guys that like they post a lot on Digital Dice, your thing. And the thing I like about posting on you guys on your Facebook is it's like everything's welcome. It's like if you post on Strat on APPA, they get mad, or if you have APPA on Strat, they get mad. But you guys, we can do whatever we feel like doing. There's not many guys just play one game only. So
right. And it's more visual than the Delphi forums, which are you can post pictures, but yeah, it's just laid out better on Facebook.
Yeah.
So like the Brady Bunch here, I guess, or Ben. Hollywood Squares.
There you go. Take Dave for the block. Dave Gardner for the block, please.
Yeah.
So, but no, it's been fun. We've met so many people. The community I feel is growing. I think the show's growing to a point where I might be even doing some things for APPA pretty soon. I've been talking to Tebow and even John, and so we're just I like we get to kind of help some other people with our skills and what we do here. Just last night I was doing a pocket pennant run.
Yeah,
they had the new module out for pocket pennant run, and me and Craig were going back and forth for the last couple of weeks. And I was like, "You got anybody testing this?" He's like, "No." I was like, "Craig, send it to me."
Yeah.
Me and Ron have been going nuts with that.
Yeah, we spent an hour with it last night before you went live. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, the other cool thing that's happening that Digital Dice has really helped to promote is the emergence of these independent game developers. I mean, 10 years ago it was Strat and APPA and nothing else, and now you've got people developing their own games and people getting engaged with the communities through.
We've had so many of them on, too.
Exactly.
And that's when we started 5 years ago, when Dave and I were sitting there talking about, okay, I want to do this, and I told him point blank that this is the golden age for these games, just because so much more information is out there than there was even 10 years ago, let alone 15 or 20, that you look at Payoff Pitch, for instance, as far as that. And, the publicity that YouTube and the forums and our own channels and that give to ASG games and the games that have, there's, I think it's Brian Martin that has resurrected Shirko's baseball game out of the depths of that. And so games that were not developed for a while have come back. And, oh, absolutely. The creativity out there. There you can do, Roberto Schiavini, women's gymnastics. If you want to sim women's gymnastics, you could do it.
Yeah. I did like finding a lot of the games out there that I had never heard of. And then we either had the people on the show or we showed off the game. And then next thing you know, people are playing this game, and it just, the more games, the better. I mean, we all have our favorites, but it doesn't mean that every once in a while you can't pull out something new and just enjoy that, And so that was fun too. To me, it's been fun. Like I say, you got the Strat and the APPA and all them, but when you find the other games, when you find the independent creators and you talk to them, that was fun too, because it's given everybody a voice here. And it's given people some exposure that they might not normally get. And that's kind of what it's about. It's a community show. It's not the Dave and Ron show. I mean, we talk about ourselves a little bit and our weather, and we joke about that. But, after a little bit of banter at the beginning, just to kind of make ourselves human to everybody, it really goes right into what's going on with everybody else is what it is.
Yeah. I think it's one amazing. Oh, sorry, Ron.
I forget what year it was. I had become Facebook friends with George Gurney from ASG Games, and at some point had given him a lot of money to buy his product, for the golf game and that. And you're welcome, Roger. And so whatever birthday it was for me, he wished me a happy birthday. And I got, just a small thing because they pop up on Facebook, and so you go through and do that. But that was just so cool. He took the 2 seconds out of his day because, that's the sort of thing that makes, I would agree with that idea. The amount of sports content that's out there is double than what it was just 5 years ago. Mm-hmm. But, as Dave was talking about the community, it's all, it's a pretty good community and a pretty helpful community as well.
Oh yeah, what I was going to say, Roz, you're talking to John, down in Atlanta at the convention, and I'm thinking, like years ago they had advertised in the street in Smiths. That was the big how we all got involved. No one's reading magazines now. You can't even buy a baseball digest anymore. You have to find a subscription somewhere. But
they don't even print the sporting news anymore, which is where you read all the stuff in.
Yeah. And these guys are all business guys too, like the Pocket Penny guy, John Herson, Hal Richmond. They're all business people also. So I think they look at, you guys are like their marketing. They have to appeal to you guys for you guys to get out there and get their word out for their games. And, it's all word of mouth nowadays, it seems. And it's all internet, social media, like what you guys are doing.
It is. And the other people that we haven't had on yet is anyone from Strat. We have someone coming up from another pretty prominent gaming community.
Yeah.
A couple
we could make, we're a half hour and we can make that announcement.
All right. And
we'll make it right now. So here's the big announcement that on July 28th, we said, right?
So 2 weeks from tomorrow.
2 weeks from Sunday night, probably the usual 7, 8 o'clock, helping us kick off year 6 of Digital to Dice will be Keith from Play Sports.
That's cool. He's a cool guy. Yeah.
Yeah. Awesome. We've been talking to Keith, and he might even have a big announcement. He said he might save it for the show. So we'll see. But Keith is going to come on, and we're going to talk to him on July 28th, Sunday night. So,
really one of the good people in the community.
Absolutely.
I was out in Denver a couple weeks ago at his convention, and have done that now 3 times. And a finer gentleman you will not find outside of this room. Brock Riblett, who just popped in. Hey, Brock.
Yep. I can't believe that he's making.
Keith cannot say enough good things about the man.
I can't believe he's making Body Painting Blast. What was that the announcement?
The thing about Keith, which you guys may not know, he's an APPA football guru. He knows those boards.
Oh, really?
Like he has them almost memorized. Even some cards memorized from back in the day.
Oh wow!
And he is I've never seen what he. It's unbelievable what he does. He basically has the whole thing memorized, the whole game memorized. So it's just amazing.
I did not realize that we'd helped the authors. I always enjoy the interviews that we've had with the authors.
Yeah.
Thomas Hetrick and Randy from and the WHA historian.
I didn't realize that. Yeah, Cleveland Baseball just posted this one. Yeah, that he said that her book sold out after that interview. That was
she was wonderful. She was absolutely wonderful.
Yes. Yeah. It is fun having the authors on, even though some of them really didn't have a too big of a connection to sports and the cards and dice, but it was sports related. And so, there's a guy I want to get on, Troy Treasure, who wrote a book about the Kansas City Scouts. And this will be the 50th year anniversary of the Kansas City Scouts. And I keep bugging him to come on the show to talk Kansas City Scouts, and that would be fun. We had the WHA guy on,
We had the Knicks guy that who was a
Yeah.
gamer. And I can't
Yeah.
remember his name now, but, he wrote, the rebounding of the New York culture compared to the rebounding of the New York Knicks, and not off the glass, but how the franchise became revitalized. That was it. And he was a listener of the show and reached out to me, and we set that up. And just always interesting to hear what different people's perspectives are. And again, he's a gamer. I think he was a play gamer too, wasn't he, Dave?
I think he was.
Yeah. So, so it's always interesting to hear, because I remember the WHA guy was stunned that people did the gaming, because we asked him, because he went through, and this was the definitive book on the WHA. So every person who scored in every WHA game and that all in one place, and stats and stories, like, well, have you ever played a game? He didn't really realize that they were there.
But yeah, having the authors on is fun. I mean, J. Thomas Hetrick found us, or found me, doing the Cleveland Spiders on YouTube. And he contacts me and he goes, what are you doing here in this thing YouTube with the Cleveland Spiders? And we went back and forth. He goes, I wrote a book on the Spiders, and let's have them on. And we ended up talking like hours about
2.5 hours,
baseball. I learned so much about 1899 baseball, whether I wanted to or not. It was awesome. I mean, just how, and his whole book was full of that, how that when it got to be around 6 o'clock or so, they had to call some of the games because some of the guys needed to get on the train. It was built around the train schedule. So games were cut short. Sometimes only one umpire showed up, and they did a game with no base umpires, and things got messed up because they didn't have enough umpires. And the stories were just so good. It's such a pure, wholesome time for baseball that you'd never see again. And it was fun just listening to those stories. It really was.
Yeah. And again, this type of activity, not the podcasting part, but the game playing part, is storytelling. It's all numbers and characteristics and all that, but you're telling stories. And so it's not a surprise that people who have written books are gamers, because it is the same thing. You're writing a story between your ears.
Yeah.
It's definitely. There was a story today. I was texting Dave today. I was at Costco shopping, Dave. We were talking about Pocket Pennant Run. And one thing I want to recognize you guys for is you guys have inspired guys to do content creating. Like, you actually have guys who probably never ever thought of like putting a camera on themselves playing a game, and they're doing content. There's all these new guys come out. I always love seeing new channels, and I think a lot of you guys inspired a lot of them, because I think they're part of the community and they see you guys doing it. And I had like a Pocket Pennant Run moment like you had with APPA Football Day with this guy. His name was Richter something, and he was a teacher, and he was playing Pocket Pennant Run in his classroom, and it was just doing a video. He did like got 2 or 3 videos on it, but before that, the game just never. I thought it was way too. It wasn't accurate enough. Like, how could you do like have an accurate game with ABCD? But the way this guy did his games, it was kind of like that guy with the Apple Football and you. I was like, this is awesome. I went and bought the game. I'm waiting for that game day thing. You guys are coming to that test thing. So can't wait for that to come out.
That's fun. You will be able to play any 2 teams in history from everything that they've made. So if you want to do Sadahara O against the Boston College Eagles of 2022, you can do that, and that'll be fun. It was, Al Red Sox fan, who won't be here tonight, is the one that highly encouraged me to start going live.
Me as well.
He really is the godfather of what we do. And if it wasn't for his encouragement, I, would be taping something once a week and throwing it up there. But as far as, going live and the interaction that you get from it, and Steve Tower, as Michael says too, but it really was Al.
Al badgered me as well. I was listening to Ron's stuff, and I was listening to Al's stuff, and I would chat in, and Al just started in on me. you need to be doing this. You can
Yeah.
you can get in, and so yeah, it's
Yeah,
Al
Al
is
did the
certainly an
same.
influence.
Same exact thing for me. I was off
Yeah.
work like 7 years ago, and I did 1 or 2 Master Game videos, and that's all I did. He popped on and said, "You got to do more. Like this is great. Keep doing it." I'm like, "Who's this guy?" Like I have no idea. It's out of nowhere. This guy's encouraging me to do more stuff. But
And we all have our very different styles. And we
yeah,
talked earlier about, Dave and I are very different people, but we mesh. What's out there? Everyone has a different take, regardless of the game or the sport or however they interpret it. You look
yeah,
at baseball demos, who, the master of the pun,
Mm.
and and he's very different from myself, and I'm very different from Dave, and so there's no real clones of each other that out there too.
That's what makes the community really fun. Is everyone does it a little bit different.
hmm
Ron, when he does his baseball, he's like super serious with his baseball, and people tune in for that. When I do baseball, I'm just goofy Dave, and I'm not making a mockery of it, but I'm just enjoying it. And who is the guy in 1899 that came to the plate and batted, and he's a Hall of Famer, and I had no idea.
Honest Wagner.
Yeah, Honus Wagner, and people are like, do you know who this is? I'm like, he's a baseball player.
H. Wagner. Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't know who he was. I mean, I know now, but I mean, at the time, I just play and I have a fun time with it. And I think people enjoy. Everyone does it a little different. My hockey's very serious. My baseball is not. My football is kind of in the middle, and I don't try to be Ron when I do baseball. I just be Dave, and it took a while for people to get used to it because I used to get a lot of bad mail about my baseball playing. But I think now people realize what my baseball is.
Yeah, but you made the list of top 10 internet baseball announcers, and I did not.
I know.
True story.
Now I do have one of
I've only been doing this for 6 years.
Now I do want to bring someone on who did send me some nasty mail. We're gonna have both sides.
And I'm gonna duck out, guys, and make room for the next folks.
Thanks for
Congratulations
all you do,
so
Mr.
much.
Little.
Yeah.
Thank you,
Great,
Dave.
great to be part of your show. It's a pleasure.
Thank
you, David. All right, now this person right here sends a lot of hate mail to me. I know that. This guy right here.
Skip from Bedford.
Oh, wait, let's see. There we go. I've recently joined the. I had to get glasses a couple of weeks ago. All right.
Are they readers or
no for driving? No, and it's a pain because I think I need to go back and splurge and get the progressives because I can't.
Oh, yeah.
I have progressives. I love them.
My car is blurry.
I'm developing a case of dinosaur arm myself, so I need the readers.
Yeah, no, the progressives take about a week to get used to, but then you can't live without them. I have them too because again, you just need them, and once you get them and get used to them, you're like, oh yeah, this is great. This is great.
My wife's had them for years.
So yeah, well, I had a good 20-year run with I got LASIK surgery.
Oh, did you?
Did you?
I had a fantastic. Yeah, back in it was 2005 that I got it. So, and I had terrible vision. I couldn't see like my alarm clock.
Oh wow.
Yeah, I had like 20. I think it was like 2700, 2750.
So, wow, that's worse than mine.
So it was literally life-changing when I got LASIK surgery. So yeah, but just in the last couple of years, it's kind of one of those like I'm driving like, what's that street sign?
I always wondered if they lasted forever. I wasn't sure how that worked.
I've had glasses since I was 5. They just reflect off everything, so I don't wear them on camera.
Oh yes,
yeah. I got my first pair of glasses at 5 years old.
You want to know what the key is? Lighting.
I don't need them to use the computer, so
watch this. If I take this off, look at the reflection on my glass.
Oh yeah.
I put lights on, it blasts right through it, and so that's the trick that I learned. Is a lot of lights will get rid of the glasses. Not those huge honking frames glasses, but
Brett Summers turned 100 yesterday. If she was still with us, speaking of big.
Hey, Richard Simmons passed away, huh?
Yeah.
And Dr. Ruth.
Oh, Jesus! At the same time.
And the actor who played the kid in Alf just died.
Yeah,
and he was only 46.
Oh, that's a tough week.
Yeah. It's a bad week for kids of the 80s. But but it's a good week for us here. So congratulations on your 5 years.
Thank you.
Dave, I'm sorry about the nasty emails I constantly send you.
Oh yeah.
Well, I realize now that you couldn't really see what you were typing, so 'cause you
Yeah,
didn't have the
that was
glasses. You kept hitting the wrong keys. I know you meant to send those to Ron. I know that.
somebody. I accidentally got one of those European keyboards, so all the keys were in different spots.
So you're the ones that keep sending me requests for money on PayPal.
So,
And Steve, I'm not going to ask you what you have against APPA tonight either. So.
oh, okay. Thank you.
It's all right. I won't put you on the spot like last
All
time.
right. Okay, thank
So
you. Yeah.
Steve was one of the first ones to be on too. You were doing
Yes.
the almost like a video podcast after further review. That's pretty much how you got your start, right?
Yes, I started
And Shelley the Ball
doing
Pastor too.
pre-taped and edited just
Yeah.
reviews. And then I think it was 2 years into it. I got like a new camera and decided to try one live, and it was like, oh, I kind of like the energy you get from a live show, and I also like the not having to sit down and edit for 5 hours
Yeah.
after you finish filming.
I did that too. I would film and edit. It's like, oh my gosh, this is driving me nuts. And
Yeah,
if you can find a way to do it in one take, it saves so much time. Although there is prep. I mean, you don't just turn on the camera. There's setup and lights and angles, and and the thing about it is you also need to, especially with cards and dice, you need to get to the table and see things. And sometimes the camera's in the way, the light's in the way, you're getting a reflection. It's setting up a cards and dice show it takes me about a half hour or so.
I try to record a new game I bought, and Excel spreadsheets and ball roller are such an exciting thing to watch.
Yes.
And so I got through, did the first take of it, and realized I hit the wrong button, so it was 20 minutes of blank screen.
Oh.
That was the best video you ever did, by the way.
You haven't seen it because it hasn't been uploaded. So the second take, I forgot what went wrong, but something went wrong. I paused when I shouldn't have paused or whatever, and I invented a few words after that, and so 2 hours and nothing I could actually show because I'd screwed it up both times. So yeah,
I find, I don't know about you guys, but I find that when I go live, I tend to do a better job. And I mean that because when I'm recording, in the back of my mind, I know I can do another take, and I can do it better. And when I'm live and there's no takes, I tend to just, I don't know why, I tend to just go with it. And the little mistakes that you make, you just kind of glance over them. Whereas if you make a little mistake, I'm going to start over again. And you just keep starting over and starting over and starting over. Whereas when you're live, I know I just tend to do it better because I just go with it, and I know that I can't start and stop. I just need to go with it. And even today, I was recording a video. Actually, it was for Tebow I was doing, and I 3 or 4 times I started and stopped, and finally said I just need to do it. And if I stumble or stutter, just go right over it, and it's not going to be perfect. It just can't be, And so I just did it one live take, and it seemed to come out better than all the other ones I was doing when I was starting and stopping,
See,
So for
I
me,
learned years ago the Johnny Carson, Carol Burnett, Bob Barker method, which is it's consider yourself live. If you swear or stumble, if there's a technical thing, you can stop and redo, but it's live to tape. It's all one take, and so if you sneeze, and that, because one of the things that I find very frustrating when you're watching a YouTube video is are the jump edits. It's like, seriously, there was 2 sentences and there's a jump edit, and then there's 3 sentences and there's a jump edit. You don't need to be.
Well, do you know why they do that though? Is they tell you that every 10 seconds you need to make a change to keep people engaged.
Really?
Yeah. When you're sitting there talking like this, and we do our chats like this, that's fine. But that's why you see people, and it's like bump, and you see them zoomed out and zoomed in and to the left and to the right. And because every 10 seconds you need to make some kind of a change to keep people engaged. That's why they do it. They do the jump edits. They have the little things on the screen. They zoom in, black and white, whatever it is. So every 10 seconds they're trying to do something different. I don't do that because that's a lot of work.
Yeah.
So if you go back and watch any of my early videos when I was pre-recording them, I made the mistake. I had a clock on the wall,
Oh yeah.
and you could see the hands on the clock, and some of those bad days, and it took 5-6 takes to.
I look for that in movies once in a while when I'm watching a movie and there's a clock in the background. I'm like, okay, I wonder. Let me keep an eye on that clock. Let's see if that time
Yeah.
fluctuates at all. But yeah, no, that's how you learn. I remember I was watching, Steve Tower videos, and he, showed how to play a lot of games. And then there was another guy, Dave Dorr, I think his name was. He's not on anymore. Every now and then he sends me a message, so I stay in contact with him. But he was doing a lot of the Downey games. Dave was, and he did a lot of shootout hockey too. And so I learned from him shootout hockey, and I learned a lot of how to play some of the Downey games. And then it was from Steve and David there that I was like, if I can learn a game and get good at it, I'd like to give back myself and do some videos and find some games that don't have videos on, because those games I was looking for, it's like, well, there's none here. Let me learn it. And maybe I can show it. And at least what I like is just show you what the game kind of looks like, because there's so many games out there, especially the smaller games, that, boy, what is this game like? I have no idea what this like. How does it play? How does it look? And if you can see someone playing it and it's like, okay, well, it's a team card versus an individual card, or if you're using fast action versus dice, or how big is the footprint that I need on the table here, things like that. And sometimes you don't need to have, every single question answered, but at least give you a general idea. What am I looking at with this game? And
There were no videos when I bought Strat Basketball that talked about Strat Basketball Advanced or Super Advanced. Dave S did a couple good videos on the basic Strat Basketball, but I mean, here's a game that's been in production for 40 some odd years or whatever it is, in some form or another. And YouTube, YouTube wasn't started last week, and it's like, this isn't some small company. It's the big boy, of the sports gaming world. And there wasn't, and I bought the game specifically to figure out how to do a video to show it off. It's like, wait a minute. I mean, the company hadn't done any videos on it. And I mean, one of the things that you can get onto a lot of different companies for is a lack of self-promotion. You've got a good product out there. Show it off.
Or if not, then ask somebody,
find someone else to show it off.
I know Steve's been asked, many times to do, open box videos and new game videos, because he does a fantastic job. I mean, so, and a lot of guys, well, I don't have the, the wherewithal to do that. Then there's plenty of us here to do that. There really is. I know. When I did the review for regular season basketball, Marco actually emailed me and said, "Hey, can I use the video on my website?" Because it was like the only video out there of his basketball game. I said, sure, Marco, go ahead, and that's still one of my highest viewed videos, and great. It helped him out. Great, and that
saved the game. He wasn't, it saved that game.
So I was kind of happy for that.
Rob, Tabletops Basketball.
Yeah, Rod's Tabletops. Yeah, he's a good
great
I
channel.
mean, that is the premier channel to find out about basketball games. And I'm not sure how long he's been around, but yeah, I mean, it's crazy that, you go to look for, I'm not sure, Peter Miller might have done something on APPA Hockey before you started playing around with it, Dave. But, I mean, because I see the emails that go to the Yahoo page, about once a week, you get an email asking for the APPA Hockey Excel helper.
Sometimes it's once a day. No joke. It's like, I'll get on my email and I'll have 10 emails. It's like, hey, can you send me the helper? Can you send me the spreadsheet? ID and myself, we typed out all the charts and put them in Excel, and I emailed John and says, hey, people are asking for these. It helps them play the game. Can I send them out? And John's like, sure. I forget how he put it, but he's like, yeah, as long as it's, blah, blah. I said, yeah, no, it's just the charts, and it's just going to help people play the game, because you still need the instructions. So it's just the charts. And yeah, I'm still getting those. I mean, I probably sent out 60 to 70 of all those things. And, that's just, that's extra time during our day. It's like, oh, okay, let me send all this out and send all this out and send all this out,
Yeah. Hey, Dave, he mentioned that actually in the convention down in Atlanta about those charts. He doesn't make money on those. Now, I'm so happy he endorsed that, what you doing those charts, because everybody, it probably brings more people to APPA Hockey. Even the guy that does the golf, the game caddy guy, he
Mhm.
endorsed him recently. Same thing. He does the golf charts on an Excel helper. And John was saying his business is the widgets, like selling seasons and
Right.
coming up with new. He's looking for stat data points to make new cars, new seasons. That's where he makes money, is on those seasons. So that's great that he endorsed that. I'm going to jump off, guys. Hopefully, you get someone in to fill in and say hello. But I want to say thanks for all you guys did. I still
Oh,
remember
thank
the
you.
first. I remember your first video I saw of yours, Ron. I was at work in my break room. You were playing your '82 Action PC replay,
Oh
the
God,
Expos one.
that first year, yeah,
Yeah, I
6
remember.
years ago.
Dave, I remember the first when I saw yours. You opened. I still love that video. The unbox your first strat sets, like you got baseball, and you're saying, "I'm not a baseball guy. This is like I'm the hockey guy." But what's this guy doing playing baseball? And, like, it still brings a smile to my face watching that video. So thanks for all you guys did.
Well,
I
thank you.
appreciate you. Thanks
We'll
for all
see you
you do
guys.
too, Tebow.
Hey,
It's
thanks.
you're a big part of this too. So
Yeah, we'll be in touch, Dave. I'll see you.
all
See
right,
everybody.
all
Bye-bye.
right. Bye bye.
Thought
Steve,
of
what's
you.
been on your tabletop lately, Steve?
So just today, I got to kind of neat. I got to play out a game with On Deck Baseball. It's a new Legends of the Game
See
2,
that he's
Okay.
released a couple sets.
and
Yeah.
it's so it's Legends from World War II to present, and it is a humongous set. It's being released on Monday, but Ian had a special thing going on that during my broadcast he had it up for sale early, so a few people were able to grab it early. But yeah, just it's a mammoth stack of
Oh my goodness.
players that you get, and
Oh,
they
wow.
all have full artwork. There's the captain. There's Derek Jeter there on front, but and you can mix and match them with any of your other sets. For the game, they have the values and everything. So that was a lot of fun. I can only show this really quick, but I'm also working on this. That's
Okay.
going to be coming out to Kickstarter in a couple months. I don't know if you ever saw when I did Bat Flip. I've done it a couple times. There's a new game based on it called Bat Flip Dynasty.
So, who's doing the kickstart and how do they do that and all that?
Oh, it's Scott Corlander is his name. Scorelander
Okay.
Games is the company.
Okay.
It'll be. I want to say it's September that he's going to be going live with the Kickstarter. But yeah, looks like a pretty fun game. It's a drafting game. So instead of just having teams,
not like the one that played released for the football.
No.
Okay.
A little different. So yeah, there's money and everything involved. So yeah, that should be fun. So that will be coming out soon. Played a lot of primetime hoops on the channel, and
don't know if you heard us say that we're having Keith on 2 weeks from tomorrow.
I did. Yes.
Okay.
That's very exciting. That's awesome, and that's going to be a first, right?
Yeah, it's the first time we've had him on. Yeah.
Excellent. But yeah,
and the release of Body Painting Blast is something that I'm not looking forward to.
Yes.
What
I
would
keep
you
bugging him. So he a couple years ago. I think it was during the lockdown. He put out a bunch of games, and they're all on business cards, or that's their size. And that was like the goal was to create a game that could fit on a business card. And he had this one. Actually, Mike Fitzgerald helped design it. It's called MoMaster, and it's just a circular track, and your die represents your lawnmower, and you roll 2 dice off to the side, and you're trying to match the number. There's 2 numbers on your spot, and if you match it, you get to move to the next spot, and it's the first person to get around who has the highest number left on their mower. So if you roll and you miss the number, you can reduce the number on your mower down by 1 to match it. But if you ever get to 0, your lawnmower breaks down. And it's such a fun game. It was one of those like, well, this seems silly. And then I played it. I played it. My kids played it and loved it. It's actually become a game now. I'll bring it whenever I travel because it's so small.
Nice.
And so every time I see him, I say, you got to make a better version of that with like a 3D printed, like mower that you can set the die in or something. Yeah. So make sure you ask him about that because he did at one point say that he was going to try to do that. But
Before we say
But yeah,
hi to
I just got done a whirlwind 2 weeks, 2.5 weeks where I was traveling. So I'm just now starting to get back into a routine.
what would you say, I'm not fishing for a compliment here, it has been the biggest change that you've seen in the last 5 years in the gaming community? And again, I'm not trying to say that this is the best thing since sliced bread and all that.
Oh, well, I mean, yes. I think, oh boy, that's a good question. I guess I would say the consistency of releases coming out.
Mm-hmm.
It seems like games now, when they come out, they've been tested by members of the community. And so it's not, when something comes out, it's not like, well, figured out, or the rules are so bad that someone has to like make a homebrew rules. That seems like that's been a big thing. The quality of components, whether it's printed or PDFs that come out, and then people just having access to FedEx Kinkos or something to print out games, that's been great. And it seems like the community has gotten bigger, and at the same time, it feels like it's a nice, small, close-knit community. I think that's the biggest thing. It's great. Like Dave was just saying, he was at the PlayCon. I was there, and God, I think we counted it up. There was 8 other game developers at the convention this year.
Oh, wow.
Nice.
And so it's becoming and it was the biggest crowd. I think they had 75 people this year.
We need to get the APPA and the Play on the same page here, so they're not the same weekend next year.
I know. Yes. Well, so the reason why Keith had it earlier, because normally he has it the last week of July, is he was trying to get a booth at Gen Con. And then they ended up, their application didn't get accepted. So, but he had to put it in before, and then he had to like make the reservations for the hotel in Denver for the convention there. So the timing of it just kind of didn't work out. But yeah, it's a fun event, and it's a good time. I think we're still in the golden age. It's going to have to be called something else soon. I don't know what the limit is on an age, if it's 10 years or but yeah, I think that's been the biggest thing, is that and thanks to our community of creators, like you were saying, now if you do get a game and you're like, oh, I'm not quite sure, you can go to YouTube or go to a forum, and there's someone
amazing
there.
It's out there.
Yeah.
Sure.
So,
Greg, are you with us?
Yes, I am.
Good to see you. Well, I'd like to say it's good to see you, but I guess you have your camera off today.
Oh, shoot. I don't know what's going on here.
Thanks,
Yes,
ID.
Steve does have some energy for sports gaming. Yes, he
We're
does.
kind of getting to like it's the golden age. At some point, it becomes a generation. We've been
There
doing
you
this,
go.
long enough.
Yeah. Well, I think the biggest thing I've seen is that not only is there new games coming out and new people creating the games, but they're releasing seasons more consistently. It seems like even like the bigger companies, the APPA, the Strats, the Play, they're getting seasons out, older seasons, newer seasons. And
Strat Black is going to 2 Strat Black sets are coming out as we.
And that's what I'm enjoying, is not only the new games that are coming out, but some of these games, it's just not coming out, and they're producing seasons, because there's nothing worse than really liking a game and then it just it doesn't go anywhere. It's like, man, I like this game. I want to have some more seasons.
The collectible part of this is kind of new. Talk about the Strat Black, the new Hall of Fame set.
There he is.
There's Greg.
Now I
Hey,
get to see you, Greg.
Ron, how are you?
Pretty good. How are you, Steve? Is that
Good.
kind of surprising you that it's now more of almost like a collectible part of this?
I don't think so. I would assume that a lot of people that are in this hobby at one point collected, trading cards.
Oh, we've all done that. Yeah.
And I think that this sort of fills that, that childhood desire of got to have them all. And
there is a collectible part of that. Like you say, I'm the same way. It's like, if I'm missing a season, I don't feel right.
Yeah. And so what's nice is when you buy a baseball season, they're all there. You don't, you're not tearing open wax packs and like, oh no, I'm missing a Jeff Reardon card, and
there's a great Peanut strip from the mid '60s where he's Charlie Brown's buying the penny packs with the 2 cards or whatever it is.
Oh,
and
yeah, I
Joe
think I know what you're
Schlotnick's
talking
his
about.
favorite player,
Yeah.
and he has like 5 Willie Mays and Mickey Mantles, but he can't get his Joe Schlotnick.
Oh.
And Lucy,
Yeah.
that
5
hussy,
cents, yeah.
buys the 1 pack and pulls the Schlotnick card.
Yeah,
You
I
know,
remember that one too.
that's-
Yeah,
yeah.
that's Charlie Brown's luck. You know,
That's Charlie Brown's luck. So the play guru and the APPA football guru in the same room. How you
in
doing,
the
Greg?
house. Yeah, Greg, how you been?
Good. How you doing? I just want to wish you guys congratulations on your 5th anniversary.
Thank you.
Oh, thank you so much. So, I don't know if you know, Greg, we talked off air a little bit, about the surgeries that people have had. My wife's recovering from something similar. Yep. And she's now in the frustrated phase where things are healing up pretty well. It's only been about 3 weeks, but now she wants to get back to normal, and they're telling her you can't, because she's just out of breath, and she's just frustrated now. She's like, I feel pretty good, except I just can't do anything, so that's where we are with her.
What did she have done?
The aortal
valve
replacement.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's a big one. She's pretty carved up.
Sorry to hear that. I'm glad that she's on the mend though.
Yeah, she is. So she's been doing better with that, but anyway, so Greg, I'm still addicted to this APPA football. I can't stop playing it. And sometimes I have to put it away and play something else because that's all I will play. And I think we've all been there. We've all had our favorite game, and it's like, I need to pull myself away from my favorite game. Otherwise, I won't play anything else. So, but I've been enjoying, and I've been following your 76 replay, and the Buccaneers did not win, correct?
That's right. They didn't win.
You sure you couldn't have rolled a couple more dice?
They had a couple close ones.
Yeah. That's a tough team to get a win. They are just that bad. They are really that bad.
But believe it or not, they almost beat, of all teams, they almost beat the Colts in the replay, and the Colts end up winning the Super Bowl in my replay. So it was
wow.
It was strange,
Yeah, it depends how the dice roll on that. That's for sure.
That wasn't the same season that the plane crashed in after the Raider game, was it? Or that was a year after.
Same one.
It was 76?
Yeah.
Wow, okay.
76.
You just missed Tebow. Tebow was on, and he heard you were coming on. He says, well, I'm going to leave then. Just kidding. Just kidding, of course.
Speaking of the 76 bucks, if anybody has the tabletop simulator on Steam, you can get the breakaway football for free, and it comes with like the 4 starter teams. But he also just designed the 76 bucks in anticipation of releasing. He has a new expansion coming out that allows you to create teams.
Oh, cool.
Within the system. And so he created the 76 bucks, and that card is also on the table, so you can play it. And it's funny because they only have negative team qualities.
Oh yeah.
It's like every time there's a negative pass play, there's a chance that it's going to be a strip sack. Their kicker is -2 to all their field goal kicking rolls. It's a fun, and so it's one of those like, try out the 76 bucks and see if you can get them to win a game.
That's not a team you want to test out a new game with. That's when you want to play if you're pretty good at a game, because I've played 2 games of the 76 season with APPA football, and it is just brutal getting any kind of positive yardage out of them. It really is.
You know what they should struggle. You know what they should do. There used to in old Ebbets Field in Brooklyn. The scoreboard. This does relate to the Bucks. I will get there. The scoreboard was, the ads were slanted against the wall, so they were all on an angle. They weren't necessarily the straight up and down. And there was an Abe Stark, who was a clothier in obviously in Brooklyn. And so there was a very hard sign to reach. And so if you could hit the ball on the ad, you'd win a suit. And so for a game company to try out the cards, win a game with the $76 and win a season set.
Oh, wow.
Because, because between them and what year did the Lions run the table the wrong way? Was it 16?
I think it was something like that. Yeah, it wasn't that long ago.
If you can win a game with one of those teams, then you are.
It's just
yes,
a
it is a
long
long story. Then you deserve a prize of some sort. So hit this for a suit. Win with the $76 and win a suit.
I played Grant Fine, who we're hoping to have on later. His 49 Quick Decks football. Okay. And I played the $76 against the Vikings, and I couldn't move the ball. And somehow they got it to midfield, and I just went long pass. And I just flipped 3 cards in a row that if you didn't flip those 3 cards in a row, it wouldn't. And I went long pass, and they got a 55-yard touchdown against the Vikings. This is $76. And it was like one of these where you flip it over and, the quarterback's rating was this, then you subtract this. And so there's like this little sliver of a chance of making the catch. And then it was a chance to get deflected, and it just missed getting deflected. And then I flipped over the last card, and like every single slot was a catch. There's probably one card in the deck that every single slot was a catch, and even the last one, 0 to 10 was my availability, and he caught it, and there was a bomb and I was like, I just laughed out loud. I said, that was the only score of the game. Just everything just fell into place. Speaking about falling into place,
hey!
Hey, how you doing?
Great. How are you?
Great. Hey, I just want to touch on something Ron said earlier about how it used to be like I was involved in the 70s, right? Where it was everybody was in their own little castle of my game's the best and your game is terrible. And the best thing that a channel like yours brings is a love of all the games, like a rising tide lifts all ships, and you and Dave, you and I like hockey, and it certainly is a golden age for hockey, for baseball, for basketball, all those sports. And channels like yours really help promote that. So congratulations. Well deserved.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dave.
I remember when I found the Delphi forums. It must have been around the turn of the century, so 24, 25 years ago. And it was just as Dave said, it was the Strat Boys were the Strat Boys, and the APPA Boys were the APPA Boys, and there were a couple other smaller things that were there, but no one would play each other's games. And now, I know that Ogard is pretty much just a football guy, but pretty much most of the people that we talk to, everyone plays everyone's games. When Dave Cook did his Saber presentation, one of the things that he talked about was that I fully expect you guys to be playing my competition and enjoying it. Yeah. It's such a different world than it was 25 years ago, let alone when you look at the ads in the back of the Sporting News to see what was out there. Ogard's played seasons that the NFL hasn't played yet.
I was going to say, if you look at my tabletop, you'll see I'm playing football from Inside Sports. I'm playing hockey from Hockey Bones. I'm playing APPA Golf, and I'm playing Title Bout Boxing. Like, I don't think there's a sports game that I play from the same two companies because there's so much choice out there right now.
Yeah, it is. It's like going out to dinner. I was like, where do I go? What do I want to eat? And that's a great feeling to have, to know that you can play any game. And I get stuck playing my favorites, but every now and then I pull myself away and play something different. And it's really enjoyable. And then I like Ogard, I like watching his stuff. I signed up on the email, so I get the emails every time he finishes a game, and I'll look at the clips of the game and follow along. And that's fun too, and you got, Robert playing his inside pitch seasons, and you follow along with that. So it's there's so many people doing so many things. It's so fun to follow along with this stuff. It really is.
I also give you credit for the consistency. I know just last night I recorded like my first YouTube video in almost 2 years. And I had been doing, and before anybody rushes off there, the only tabletop content I have is data boxing. But I was doing a lot of videos, and then I just like hit a wall, and I was like, I'm going to do a video next week, or I'm going to do a video the week after. And then it's like, oh my God, it's almost 2 years. So the fact you guys have been doing this for 5 years straight it's just incredible. Love it.
Yeah, just put it in the calculator. We do an average of 46.2 shows a year.
That's
it's discipline. Yeah, it's making time for it. It really is. You just can't have excuses. And if we go 2 weeks without a show, that's a long time.
That's a long time.
I don't like that. I want to be weekly or at least every 10 days. Because then you get comfortable not doing it, and then everything gets in the way. And Steve, you probably know that too. That if you miss one, it's just so easy to miss the second, and then the third, and next thing you know, a month goes by, and you're like, oh my gosh, I haven't done anything.
And that doesn't include the individual content we do for our own channels too. I mean, I think I did 180 videos last year or something like that. You don't think that you're doing it until you look at it and go, wow, really?
Does that include the hot tub videos that you were doing on the side, or?
You're not supposed to be talking about the OnlyFans stuff.
That's the after show, Dave.
Yes.
There's a guy I watch on YouTube. I watch a ton of YouTube, and there's a financial guy, and he talks to people, and he basically yells at them about their financial decisions. Well, he had the girl from Twitch on there and she said she makes $2 million a month. And he was yelling at her about her spending, how like she orders out all the time, and he's like, well, you can be saving all this money. It's like $2 million a month. I don't think you need to be worried about saving money at that point.
You could have the foie gras. Could have the foie gras on it at that point. For goodness sakes, $2 million a month. If I realized I could do that and touch my elbows together, hell, I'd get a waiting pool for the bed too.
I did Ron because Ron's on Twitch doing his game, so I'll go to Twitch and like it'll say like, yeah, what do you want to see? And like this girl will be on, and she'll have like 50,000 people watching her, and Ron has like 3. And I go, what are we doing wrong? I go, what game is she playing?
Everybody heard $2 million a month and said, how many seasons can I buy with that? Raise your hand.
Dear Hal, dear John, how much money would you like?
On a serious note, though, they've done like behind the scenes stories on these women that do this. They are like getting stalked.
Oh, of course they are.
Bad. People are showing up at their house with flowers saying, okay, when we getting married, stuff like that. Like waking up in the middle of the night and there's someone in your kitchen. I mean, yeah, that comes at a price. It's not just $2 million free and clear. It's and a lot of them don't make that. They don't make nearly that, and they're still getting stalked. It's like you put yourself out there. It's scary. The stories they were telling. It's like, oh man, yeah, I don't know if I'd want that. No.
And I can't even get my kids to watch my show. So
my cat sulks off when I'm on camera. She'll look and go, "Oh, that's enough of that."
Oh God, what's coming up? You finished up 76. What's coming up for you for seasons now?
I'm doing 1967. AFL and NFL. Both. Yeah.
You ever done USFL?
No, I haven't. My Mark Zarb's doing it right now. He carded the '84 season. And he's doing it, and he's having a lot of fun with it. And I enjoy reading his write-ups. But yeah, after doing the '76, Joe Namath, he was so bad, in '76, I couldn't take it. I had to play a season where he was, we're firing on all his bullets, So
was he on the Rams at that point?
No, he was. His last year with the Jets was '76, and '77 he went to the Rams. So yeah, it was tough.
I read recently that he was a finalist for replacing Bob Barker on The Price is Right.
I wouldn't doubt it. He was on the Brady Bunch. He was on a few TV shows.
Yeah, but he would have been in his early 60s at that point. I don't know how long he's been on, but
he's in his 80s now. I mean,
yeah. I was surprised to see that.
And then did they watch his interview with what was her name? Stacy
Oh, Susie Colbert.
Susie Colbert.
Yeah.
That was one of the great websites of the
Yeah.
of the first decade of the century, was Kissing Susie Colbert, because all
I
the
don't care if they're struggling.
Yeah.
um
Oh, that was so horrible.
because that was all the sports rumors came up on that, because KissingSusieColbert.com. You can probably find it on
Oh.
Internet Archive, but
Well, it was like the night in 2001 when the Patriots won the Super Bowl, and Bob Kraft called in to the Boston talk shows on the sports channels.
and how hammered was he?
And you couldn't understand a word he was saying, and everyone was just laughing at. But just like, congrats to you! You brought a Super Bowl to New England. You just keep on going, you know. And he was really bad that night, but nobody cared. Nobody
Yeah.
cared.
No, especially that year. I mean, that came out of nowhere, you know.
Yeah. Ogard, I played that tuck rule game. Okay. I played the Raiders at Patriots. Raiders were leading. Someone's echoing here, Dave. That might be you echoing, I think. Hang on a second. I don't know if I can fix that. Oh, echo cancellation. Oh, that might be better.
Okay.
It was just echoing a little bit. So anyway, so it's 2001. It's Raiders at the Patriots, and fourth. Raiders up by 7. It's 4th and goal from the 4 with 15 seconds left for the Patriots, and this
Holy
is with
cow.
APPA football. So I got no choice. I got to go short pass. So I call a short pass. Brady goes back to pass. I roll a scramble.
Oh.
I roll on the scramble. It's a fumble. I roll on the fumble. He gets 5 yards and he fumbles. It was 4th and goal from the 4. So by rule, he got over the line before he fumbles. So Brady dives into the end zone, gets the touchdown, then fumbles. Touchdown good, point good. We go to overtime. That's still one of my most thrilling cards and dice things I've ever done. Is Brady on 4th and 4 scrambling for the touchdown. I'm like, oh, it's a fumble. It's all over. Nope, he gained 5, just enough to get over the line and get that touchdown. Now, the Raiders did win in overtime on a field goal, but still, when I played that tuck rule game, that was so fun. It was so good. It really was.
Well, that was a heck of a game in real life. That was a great game that you rolled on your tabletop. I'll tell you that.
I was actually at a friend's house watching the game, and when Brady fumbled,
Terry to make that kick in that snow.
the first one, yeah. We actually left because it was, as you know, it was snowing real bad out here.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, well, we got a 20-minute ride home, so we're gonna go. So he fumbled. We put on our coats. We walk out the door. We get in the car to leave, and he goes, "Hey, they reversed the call." I'm like, "What do you mean they reversed the call?" It's like, it's not a fumble. And I'm like, well, you know something? If I go back in, I'm going to jinx him. So we're going home. so we actually did. We drove home and listened to it on the radio, and then caught the end in overtime at the house. But yeah, we left. We left the party. It's like, well, it was a terrible night, as you saw in the field. It was
brutal.
We had to drive in that. I was like, oh, that was terrible.
Last game at the old stadium.
Yeah, that was the last one. Yeah, that was crazy.
It's always cool though when you get a game, because I've done tribute games and play this game and play that game, and they don't even come close to what happened during the game. It's always fun when you have a memorable game that you're replaying for some sort, and you get the incredible game to go along with it. I had that a couple of years ago in Strat football with Buffalo and Kansas City after their divisional playoff game a few years ago, and I forget who won that sim. It's on YouTube. But that came down to no defense the last 5 minutes of the game, and both teams just chucking and ducking down the field. And, again, when it happens, it's so rare when it happens that it makes those extra special when you have that, whether you're doing a fight that goes a distance that Steve, you must have had that happen at some point. I know you do a lot with the fictional stuff too, but.
Oh, sure. Yeah. Well, so last year I did a season play with the fictional set for second season, and it was the last game, it was the first game of the playoffs, and my quarterback got injured, so I had my backup quarterback in, And last couple of minutes of the fourth quarter, we finally get a drive together. Like nothing, the offense was terrible the whole game. Driving down and managed to get a touchdown. It was like one of those just strung together a couple good plays. And thank God I was doing it live. It was one of those fun things because then what happened next is we get the touchdown. I'm like so excited, like, hey, we're going to tie it and go into overtime. And people in the chat were saying like, oh, you should do a Dan Campbell and go for 2. And I was like, oh, it is kind of tempting to go for 2. I'm like, no, guess what happens? The extra points blocked and returned for 2 points the other way. One of those rare plays on an extra point. And like that's how we lost the game. Like, oh, what?
Wow. I mean, I just don't know what happened in real life. I'm doing select teams from '93 in a replay in Strat. And the first weekend of the season, San Francisco goes to Pittsburgh. Well, it's Barry Bonds' first time back in Pittsburgh. He went to San Francisco for the '93 season. The first weekend, they're back at Three Rivers. And so in your head, you're going, oh, yeah, he's going to get a rousing reception of batteries, Reggie bars, whatever else they want to throw at him. First at bat, he homers. It's like, and again, that's the magic, I think, of these games, whatever it is, because we all have our individual stories. I know Ogard is primarily APPA football, and Steve does a lot of fictional, and Dave does pretty much everything. And Dave Arlington, has created enough hockey bone seasons for that. I mean, so we all have different stories of how that magic translates. But when you get that moment, when it's like, okay, the story kind of, you couldn't script it. I mean, if you saw Barry Bonds' card for San Francisco in '93, there's not a lot of outs on a 1 or a 3. But really, in the first at bat, he homers. I mean, that's, yeah.
Yeah.
That's why we do this. That is exactly why we do this. The walk. I think one of the things that caught Mr. Gardner's eye watching me do football that first year was that Denver-Kansas City game when there's 2 seconds to go, and Kansas City overperformed. They were a 4-12 team, and I got them to 10-6. But it was Al Red Sox fan that said, Ron, they lost 6 games by 7 points combined. They were not a terrible team. They had Charles Emerson Winchester as their quarterback, and in all seriousness, they were running a single wing that year because they had no quarterback. And so here it is. It's 2 seconds to go in the game. If I know I'm going to overtime, Kansas City's going to lose. They're not going to beat Craig Morton because the only way they could do it is by winning the toss and doing something. And so I'm looking. This is an action PC football. I'm looking. What could I possibly run from my own 2 that could score? And there was a 1% chance on a pitch left that whoever, MacArthur Lane or whoever it was, could score a 98-yard touchdown run. Now, the heavens have to open up right, and, half of Denver would have to fall down, but at least it wasn't 0. And what does he do? He gets tackled in the end zone for a walk-off safety. And Gardner to this day will bring it up every once in a while.
You're part of the walk-off safety club. I mean,
and that's a sort of thing that even when a moment that goes against you, such as the blocked extra point return for 2 points. But look at it this way. Look at, Alabama Auburn back in 2013, the missed field goal that's returned for a touchdown the other way. I mean, those are the moments that create legends, that football game. It was real life, but that's why we play these things. That's why we do this
all the time. I mean, again, I talk about that game I played with APPA football there, and Brady running it in at the buzzer. Yeah. I played a game of hockey bones. It was the '92 Bruins. They're on a road trip. They're kicking the crap out of Vancouver. I think they're up by 3 or 4 goals in the third period, and Vancouver scores 4 goals in the third to win the game. And I'm like, but but it was fun. It was fun watching these Canucks just score 4 goals in a row and steal the game. You know, when I play shootout hockey, the Seals would have a lead on the Canadians. I was like, oh, look at the Seals. And then the Canadians would score like 9 goals in a row because that's what they would do against the Seals. But yeah, we have these moments, we play these games. And I always say, I don't know how they do it. I'm rolling dice and I'm looking at a card and then maybe I'm looking at a chart and it feels like I'm watching this on TV. I don't know what the voodoo behind it is, like Al says. I don't know how the voodoo works. But,
You know, Dave, I had one experience. I remember my first one, and it wasn't with APPA football. I was a big title bout guy, and I was doing the fight, the first fight between Super Fight 1, 5th, 1971 with Frazier and Ali in Madison Square Garden. I was doing that fight, and Frazier knocked him down with a left hook in the 15th round, just like in the real life. I was shocked. I was just blown away. It was like, and Frazier ended up winning the fight. It was that was my first experience with, what we're talking about. It's like, man, I remember watching that as a kid.
I don't know how many times I've had something happen on my tabletop and I go, oh my God, that's impossible. That would never happen in real life. And then I watch some game the next day and it happens in the real game. And I go, I guess that does happen in real life.
I mean, you can go weeks and weeks and weeks and have nothing special happen or whatever. And just kind of humdrum and you're moving along with your project. And then you have whatever that moment is. And it's, we've all just kind of talked about what those moments are. And so, I mean, yep, that's why we do this.
My first experience with that, and I thought I have it written down on a piece of paper somewhere because I was keeping notes during the game. I ordered Strat Hockey, and I was waiting for it to come in, and I had the one that I got off of eBay that I brought up to Ron's house that time. And so when you order the game in the season, they send you 6 teams in the mail, and the other teams you got to print out. So I printed out Quebec and Hartford, I think, whatever season it was. Very, very first ever Strat game. I think it was even in basic mode. And Hartford's beating Quebec by 1. And on the last card of the game, Joe Sakic gets a breakaway for Quebec. And if you know Joe Sakic. And he was stopped by the goalie. Face off. So you still roll for the face-off. There's no more time flips, but so you get a chance here at the end. Quebec wins the face-off. They get a shot on goal. The goalie saves it. It's a rebound to Guy Lafleur.
Oh.
And Guy Lafleur rolls, and it's a goal on a 1-15 to tie the game at the buzzer. And I take the 20-sided die, and I rolled the 16. And the goalie made the save. But it was a Sakic breakaway, and then no time on the clock. You roll for the face-off. The shot's on the net. You get the rebound. It's Guy Lafleur. And I roll. It's like whatever I rolled on his card, it said, okay, a 1-15's a goal. I got this. And I missed it by 1. And that was my very, very first Strat game ever. And I still remember that as it was amazing. It was amazingly fun to get that breakaway and then the face off at the buzz. It just everything kind of happened. I was like, that was so cool. That was so cool.
Yeah. You also got that no-hitter hanging up behind you. You didn't realize that was going on either.
Oh, yeah, that one over here.
Yeah, that one over there.
I was testing the overhead camera one night, and I was playing 88 Clemens, Red Sox and A's. And I'm just rolling, and I'm moving the camera, and I played the whole game, and it was a no-hitter. I didn't even realize it.
35 years of this stuff, I've had 2. I've had 2 no-hitters in 35 years. Never had one in Strat. It was a freeware game called Strategic Baseball Simulator, which was supposedly for Windows, but it was a DOS game. Catfish Hunter no-hit the Phillies in 78 in a tournament I did, and Jim Bouton no-hit somebody in 64 with the Yankees. So, I played all these games and all these different engines, and no perfect game. I might have had a cycle or 2 and didn't realize it. And Gardner gets one without paying attention to what's going on.
I didn't realize it until the 9th inning when I was like, something, guys? I don't think This is Canseco and McGuire and someone else too. That A's team was loaded. I can't believe that Clemens no hit him. And I had people go back and watch that whole game just to make sure that I was correct. And yep.
They're 10
I
games
was
out in
one
my
out
88.
away from a no hitter in a fictional season of History Maker Baseball, and it was last batter. It was the pitcher spot due up, brought in a pinch hitter, and rolled a 3.66, which is it's an out unless it's a pinch hitter, and a pinch hitter gets a single. So broke up a no hitter with 2 outs in the ninth because it was a pinch hitter, and that's the closest I've ever. So I've never rolled a no hitter.
You've never rolled a no hitter?
Never rolled a no hitter. In
I
baseball.
actually talk about true to real life performance. I did Dave Steeb earlier this year, in the start in April or May or whatever it was, when the first times had Toronto on to in '88, and he took a no hitter in the ninth and blew it, which he did. I think on back to back starts in '88 or '89 or something like that. Like yep, okay. So the game is true to life. Dave Steeb can't get over the hump.
Yeah.
So yeah. So I asked this to Steve earlier. What are you two gentlemen, not trying to draw compliments, what have been the biggest changes you've seen in the last 5 years?
I think it's just really the creativity I've seen in some of these new games. I look at some of them, and people, you would think like, right, this has been around since the 50s with APPA baseball and stuff, and you think like every kind of way to make a sports game has been done, but just really in the last few years, I think people have really gotten creative, especially on the baseball side, of coming up with new ways to model a sport that we've had in gaming forever. And it's just really thrilling to me to see the great ideas people are coming up with.
Greg?
Well, I mean, I'm not qualified to answer really. I'm a one-trick pony, so I don't offer much to this conversation. But the thing that I'm impressed about is the resurgence of board games in general, and that from just seeing how from the football aspect, how man took over the world, then
right.
You see somewhat of resurgence of various board games, and for a guy like me, that's comforting. I enjoy the board games because I like to see it play out in my mind,
But you probably have done a lot in the last 5 years to sell APPA football. I mean, your replays are good reading.
Yeah,
and it really.
No, I mean, I enjoy it, and if it brings joy to other folks, that's a big bonus.
This really is a monkey see, monkey do hobby.
Yeah.
I mean, Steve will pull out something like, oh, or, something comes up in your YouTube recommended the greatest blocks of John Hanna. And you find like, really, I'm going to watch this for 5 minutes. And then 20 minutes later go, wow, he was really good. It's like, so I got to do a project with, I watched The Blind Side. I got to do some Baltimore Ravens. I mean, it really is. And the creativity comes from so many different places. And obviously, there are so many. We talked about this earlier. All the new games and all the new. I mean, play. When did play get started, Steve? How long has he been making sports games?
I want to say it was 1999 when he first commercially released second season.
Okay.
And then he was on like a hiatus for a couple of years where Replay published second season. But yeah, so since, I want to say that it was 99. Maybe he released a couple before then, but so over, 25 years now.
Yeah.
I remember the Alien Invasion game that he came out with. It was one of the first games he did with second season football. It was like aliens invading your town. It was a blast.
Oh, yeah, he put a special edition of that out a couple of years ago, too, where he like upgraded the components and put it in a one of their Play Now boxes. and I think he is going to bring it back too. It came up at the convention. He might release that again.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, Jason was saying I was streaming some APPA baseball the other night, and I was playing Red Sox. Maybe it was Orioles, 79, I think it was. And I had the bases loaded, and Yastrzemski come up, and I rolled a 66 right on camera, home run, grand slam. I don't know if I've ever had a grand slam in APPA baseball before. And I think it was in the 6th or the 7th inning. It wasn't a walk-off, but it still was like, wow, 66. That's what I really love about the APPA is that when that 66 comes out, it's just magic. It really is. Whether it's baseball or football or hockey, it's just like, oh, that is just great. It really is. Especially with the football when you got that third down and you're throwing a medium pass and the 66 comes up and goes, he is gone. I don't know where he is on the field, but he is gone, and that's
Touchdown.
just touchdown. It's so fun when that happens. It really is. That's the fun thing about that.
Hey, Dave, I don't mean to interrupt. I have to pop out. I just wanted to tell you guys, I wanted to come on and say what a joy it is for you guys to be doing this for 5 years. You're a credit to the hobby in general, to board games, to just all sports simulation games. Everything you guys do, it's greatly appreciated, and continue the great work, and congrats again on 5 years.
Thank you so much, Greg.
Thank you.
It's Steve. It's nice meeting you, and nice to meet you, Dave.
Yes, you too, Greg.
Take care,
Thank
fellas.
Bye,
You too.
Greg.
All right.
Oh.
That was actually one of the first names we ever dropped. Was Ogard.
Yeah. He actually texted us in the text line and goes, "Hey, I appreciate your show." And it's like, "Oh my gosh, that was like early on."
I don't know what we were talking about, but it was certainly on the subject of posting replays or something like that. And he was at the start of being really prolific with it, and so I'd read them. And so it's like, oh yeah, and so at Ogard, APPA football.
What I like what he does with his replays is he has it's like a newspaper, like the top half of the newspaper, and it's like Colts slipped by Bucks, and then it's like it's got the date of the game, and then the score by the quarters, and there's like 2 or 3 paragraphs. Like the Baltimore Colts struggled with the expansion Buccaneers, but managed to pull it out, with a late touchdown pass from Burt Jones or whatever. And it's just, you can get an idea of what happened in the game in 10 seconds. And that's what I like. You can really kind of follow along with that.
So now that there are 4 people in Baltimore who are finally now over Ghost of the Post because he got them to win that Super Bowl. I've always kind of wondered that. Scotty says it's interesting that New England is the epicenter of the community. I think we kind of created it just because of where we live, but so many of the people that we've talked to over the years have been from New England. I don't, maybe because our winters are eternally long here or whatever it is. But there's never been a game created here. Long Island is not New England. And Keith's out in Denver, and Keith's out in Denver, and APPA's was Pennsylvania Dutch Amish country before John bought it, and so it's not like the games were created here and we played them. I'm not sure why that is, but there doesn't seem to be this portion of
we need some kind of a gaming convention out here in New England. You brought it up. Somebody else brought it up. I mean, they're always just too far away. It's like there's nothing I could really drive to. I was trying to get out to Canton in August, but I don't think I'm gonna just because of what's going on with the wife right now. But it's just there's nothing in Maine, New Hampshire, Vermont, Massachusetts, Rhode Island area. I mean, anything in New York is pretty far away. New Jersey's still kind of far away. So, and I just don't know how many people in the area, if we were to set something up out here, like how many people are in the area would come to it, and like, how would you do it? I mean, you have to find a place to set it up, and I don't know.
Yeah. So Keith has done a couple of smaller get-togethers in this area.
There's a hockey blast one,
there was a hockey blast one. There was a couple of fall classics that he's done here in this area. And I think there was one in Connecticut, and like 10, 12 people showed up for it. So they're here. It's just, what I find funny is that even though we're in the same state, we're probably what, an hour and a half away from each other just because of having to drive around Boston. It's and that seems to be like every time I connect with somebody, it's like, oh my god, you're in Hartford. Well, that's not exactly a.
So you're on the other side of 495, yeah.
Right. It's and it's just how it seems like it doesn't matter where I live. I'm never closer than an hour away from a hobby store, and I don't know what I've done in my life so even now, there's like 2 different hobby stores, and they're both 45 to 60 minutes away from me. So I don't know. Maybe that's good for my wallet and my marriage that I don't have a
a
game store that close.
One of the coolest things I saw that happened this summer is that there was a payoff pitch tournament. We talk about Strat and we talk about APPA and Keith doing Play.com, but talk about new generation of games and getting people together to play them. That's the first time. I forget where it was, but there were a number of people that played in that. It wasn't just 2 or 3, and that's for as solo as this community is for the most part. There are times when they get together that it's big, and and I think it's important. It'd be nice to see some younger people there. A lot of people with not so darkish hair anymore.
Hey.
At least they have hair. Holy cow.
Yeah. What?
Yeah, we're getting there.
Yeah. So,
Dave, what's up with the hockey bones? What's going on with that?
Well, 23-24 just released, and I guess it is going to print, which I know some people will be happy about because they like those cards. And then our first WHA set coming.
Okay. Nice.
So,
I had I put on the Ice Cats here from Worcester, but I had my Cincinnati Stingers on the other day and my San Diego Mariners WHA shirts on. So I was repping the W.
I know Chris has done one and APPA's done one 2 years later. So I think the first one we're going to try is the one right in the middle between those two, so people can run the 3 years if they want.
Nice.
I always thought the first one, 72, 73 for WHA, would be good because that's when most of the guys jumped ship that first year. The Cheevers, the Perrant, the Sanderson, guys like that. So that they're always fun to play. I don't know many of the guys on there. I know some of the guys because most of them were fringe, but you had the Bobby Hull and the Gordie Howe at some point played over there, and it's a fun little story. It really is. So I enjoy that. So. And again,
it was due to this community, I think, really that I'm able to do that because people would say, you need stats for WHA? Here you go, and like that WHA book that's got everything in it.
Yeah.
And all these other things. And without the community that we have together, I wouldn't have been able to collect that kind of information that we need. So again, everybody coming together, it's all good for all the games.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, I still use that book when I play some of my WHA games. I'll pull that out and try to see who was in the game.
Tremendous reference.
Yeah, just who might have played net of the whole bit, or even Hockey News. Sometimes they'll show you the box score for that. And I like to try to start the game with the guys that actually played in it. And WHA is hard to find information on. So
Steve, where do you hope to see in the next 5 years?
Oh boy, next 5 years.
If we're sitting all together in July of 2029.
I mean, I suppose the dream would be, it'd be great if one of the big game companies actually put out a sports themed game, like a Fantasy Flight, something like that. That just something that would get out to the masses in a way that the smaller companies that make these games can't reach. I feel like that would be kind of a watershed moment, and then it would lead people to be like, well, hey, maybe there's other games like this out there.
Well, is it just kind of like down to Hasbro? I don't think that, I think Milton Bradley and Parker Brothers are just nameplates for Hasbro now, aren't they?
Yeah, they're not really big in the board game world anymore, though.
Yeah.
I don't. So yeah, that's or whether it's somebody just collaborates and it's distributed through one of those bigger companies. I think that that's, well, I don't know if it's going to happen, but that would be fun to see happen. That, or a company just does have some big breakout success. But that, and I think that in 5 years, just about everybody's going to have their own 3D printer.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's going to be a big thing. So then everyone will have their own custom scoreboards, their own custom like dice towers, their own like meeples for base runners. I think that 3D printing is going to, I think, probably be a big literal game changer.
Yeah.
For a hobby.
I think that'll help the game developers actually too, because they could maybe create their own customized 3D whatever it is, whether it's Dungeons and Dragons or sports or wargaming.
Al Wilson's
that's going
doing
to
that
allow.
now.
Yeah, it's going to allow. Yeah, the developers now, not only just the regular people or the big companies, but even the smaller developers to start producing some of their own unique items like that. Yeah, that's interesting take on that.
And then they could it's not even that they would have to make those custom tokens. They could just sell the, what do they call it? The STL files, so that people could make them on their own, home 3D printer. I think that would be a big move.
They could even make it like some of those war game companies with the miniatures, if they got like an NFL license and, you buy team packs where the little miniatures are of the players.
Oh, like the electric football players.
Yeah. Only, on the board game. And I think, I think there could be, and people paint them and all that kind of thing they could get into.
I'm part of a couple of tabletop hockey groups on Facebook with the rods, back in the day. The customization that those people, the nets, just the nets are like modern nets with the Gatorade bottle on the top, and they're not the plastic netting. They're the mesh. It's unbelievable. And, and people are on there all the time and they're like, hey, I need a little joint here for my, Monroe, whatever. And people will print them for you, because they're getting that good at it. So, yeah, even the tabletop hockey groups, with the 3D printing and the painting of the guys. Every day I see a new team laid out. It's like, oh, look at this team here. Look at that team here. And they're gorgeous. They're really gorgeous. They really are. They're not just the little stickers. They're done quite well.
Laser etching and engraving and stuff like that, as it gets more and more cheaper to produce.
I still don't get the whole 3D printing thing. I've never seen it done, but I still don't.
It's all layers.
I guess, yeah.
It's spun like cotton candy. It's all different layers and different colors.
Really?
Yeah. There was a 3D print. There was a store downtown in here, Burlington, that had a 3D printer in the window. Obviously, you didn't want it. It takes forever. It's not something that's it's not like it's doing 10 pages a minute. Something that's 4 or 5 inches tall might take 4 or 5 hours to do. So you're not going to sit there and spend the day to watch G.I. Joe get manufactured right in front of you. But for a couple of minutes, you can just kind of see it. And yeah, you can tell something that's been 3D printed just from the layers of plastic are there. And just
I'm still waiting for remember the Twilight Zone episode? And this would be fantastic where they had the punch cards and the guy went up, took the punch card and he put it in the computer and like a ham sandwich come out. That would be awesome, right?
The Star Trek replicators, Earl Grey.
And I go for a slice of pizza right now. Put a punch card in and you get the piece of pizza. That'd be awesome.
It would be nice to see.
At the Play Convention, I was talking to Al Wilson, who's doing those scoreboard or those scoreboards now, and he said that some of those take about 12 hours to print.
Yeah, and they're not that big, so
it's like you set it up, you press print, and then you go to bed. And then it's almost ready when you It's almost like downloading a movie back when we just had dial-up. You start the download and then go to bed, and
I used to work in a
I
trophy
still got a
shop.
couple Napster files. I think I'm still
Yeah.
downloading. Right?
Yeah. I used to work at a trophy shop, and we had a old engraver. Excuse me, and it was line by line. So picture like to do like the Bruins logo, it would start at the top and just go, "Eek," and then it would go a little bit bigger and a little bit bigger, and then it was and then it would like go across and then lift up and drop and just it was paint. It was line by line doing the whole logo, and it was painfully slow. Now they have the lasers, which go so much faster now. But back in the day, it was a little diamond tip, and it went one line at a time to do that logo and to engrave whatever it was. And boy, I tell you, if anything ever happened, it was like, man, that's an hour and a half gone. I got to redo. If something, one little thing screwed up, and it just looked terrible, But it was that's how it was back in the day. It was almost like a 3D print. It was one line at a time, when we did those.
I'd love to see the game companies get together and come up with some sort of distribution system, because I know that a lot of the gaming stores are independent. I mean, in Burlington, it's quarterstaff games where you get your Magic and your Dungeons and Dragons and that. I understand that physically producing games and having them in stock and not having them guaranteed to sell, but something in there, because you're going to grab. I mean, we've seen Strat in the last few months get a database together for their club players. The 20 people who are playing in Hartford or whatever. Okay, so or for APPA or for Play. Okay, we know that we have 45 players in Hartford. Whatever the game of the hobby store is in Hartford, get those products into the stores so people can. I mean, the first time I ever saw Strat was at KB Toy. Was the first. I'd seen it in the street and Smiths and that, but yeah, KB Toy.
Right.
And
Yeah.
I mean, if you put these games where people can see them, I think people will play them. They might not be like us and play for hours on end, but at least people will have seen the product. I mean, how many copies of NHL 95, 96 sold because we saw them at KB or Toys R Us for the Sega Genesis? Oh, the new Madden is out. I know everything is downloaded today as far as the console games is concerned, but just having that out there to be seen. And you would think
I think, Ron, you said it before. It's tough getting people away from this.
Yeah.
That's where the youth is right now. The youth is on the phone. That's what they're doing every day. I'm at the gym today, and all people are sitting there. They're on the machines on their phone. They're not even doing the machines. They're just sitting there. They do, okay, pop, I'm done, and then 10 minutes of this. And it's just like, it's unbelievable. That's all they are. You're walking across the street on their phone, driving in the car on their phone. That's where it is. I don't know how many people are doing the board game thing that are younger people, because it's all on their phone.
Well, we did, when I worked at the sports store, we did Yu-Gi-Oh tournaments once a month. We get 30 kids to those, which is a lot, and they would spend serious money because you get the right card. That you can win. I mean, it's all those deck building games are all about having the right card. Be very curious to see how Baseball Max does, and I'm not, whether APPA Go can ever make something go, or I mean, that's how you do it. I mean, you try to get people to play, so hopefully that can happen. But the game companies to get something in there, because look, the masses are never going to play these games. There's just, the masses are just never going to do it. But now that Steph Curry's at the end of his career, and we're stuck with listening to Tom Brady for 25 Sundays a year on Fox for the next 5 years, people are going to get nostalgic for this era.
Sure.
I mean, they're gonna want to start replicating what they did. It may not be our era, but it is their era. And just like, I mean, how many people in this community that are our age have played 1976 because of Mark Fidrich, who, because of injury, was a 1-year wonder. He wasn't Seaver, he wasn't Orr, he wasn't Jerry Cheevers. He talked to the baseball. He got called Big Bird. A generation of us watched Sesame Street, and so it connected with us at 4, 5, 6, 7 years old. But he was done by 1978. But how many people have bought? Strat just redid 76 in the last couple of years. It wasn't to recreate the Reds. It was because of Fidrich. And so people who are nostalgic about whatever it is, I mean, and the other thing is fantasy teams. You can draft your fantasy team. Yeah, it's not perfect, but you got to start somewhere.
I think they're going in the right direction with that. I do.
Yeah.
Yeah, and like Ben says, he goes back to the better. That's what I do. I go back to the years that I enjoy, right around like 79, 81. Those are my big years for everything, and that's what I play. That's what I enjoy. I mean, that was the best music, at least for me. When I go back and look at the albums that were released around that time, I still listen to that music. I still like go to YouTube and watch some of the old games and the old people, and I still, that's my happy place. Just growing up. Whatever grade I was in school, I remember watching some of the games, and and just that's when you grow up. That's what you grow up with,
And then you go in the grocery store, and they're playing the music from your high school and the music, and you're singing along.
It's tough. Thanks for bringing us down, Ron.
Yeah.
You're welcome.
This includes the old man yells at clouds segment of our show.
You want to feel old? I saw that Dan Rather has an interview with Yeti Lee up on YouTube.
That was a while ago, I think.
Was that a while ago?
I think it was, yeah.
I just watched part of the Ringo Starr one yeah. Anyway, so yeah, 5 years.
Speaking of 5 years, we're gonna cross over here, and we're gonna bring in someone that does a model train podcast around the layout. Ray, thanks for joining us.
Yeah, glad to be here. I was glad you sent the link because I had a couple thoughts for you guys, and
okay.
No,
it's not hard thinking. It's easy thinking.
It's all right. It's gonna be the Ray show. Go ahead, Ray.
Well, hey, I just congratulations to you both on 5 years.
Thank you.
As someone who's doing a podcast of their own, and I thank Dave for his start with this. He was big on the technical advisement, getting this up and going, and then Dave actually came on. We rehearsed. Dave became like the worst guest ever role, so that I could practice, getting things out of people, and we had a lot of fun with that. But staying consistent for beyond 7 podcasts is very difficult, let alone the 5 years that you guys have done this, and it's just a great service to the community. And I'm not really part of your guys' community, but I've listened to the podcast regardless. It's still entertaining, even though I don't do any of the dice games or any of that sort of thing. But great camaraderie between you two. You guys do an awesome job with it. You bring on some great guests. You do an excellent job with interviewing them and getting information from them. And then, so awesome work. And I just wanted to congratulate you both. And both are good friends, and just want to say that. So that's why I'm here.
I appreciate that. Now tell us about your podcast, Around the Layout.
Yeah, so Around the Layout is a model railroad podcast where we talk to model railroaders from around the world, and we really kind of drill into their why of model railroading. And we've been doing that for a little over 2 years now. Mm-hmm. And then we talk to manufacturers, we talk to modelers, we talk to historical societies, train clubs, a whole bunch of stuff. So yeah, it's we have a lot of fun with that, all circled around the hobby of model railroading, which it's funny because Dave and I will have conversations and just how much the two hobbies can parallel each other, and a lot of similarities in the mentalities. So
more than you think. I mean, because you picture it's a bunch of people in their basement by themselves having fun, doing what they enjoy, and maybe something that other people would consider to be childish, playing with trains, playing with cards. I mean, the average person probably might be like, oh, what are you doing down there in that basement again? I'm having the time of my life. I don't know about you. I'm having the time of my life.
And the other neat thing,
just hit a home run. How about you?
That's right. That's right. Well, the neat parallel I think I find is emulation. Like you guys are emulating your favorite sports, and you talked about your favorite games, and matchup, Red Sox Yankees. I want to recreate this game, and for us, we're recreating the railroad. So we're trying to do what our sports teams are: Norfolk Southern, CSX, and BNSF, and all those, and we're trying to emulate what they do on a daily basis.
Conrail.
And yeah, there you go, Conrail, and we got to come up with some stuff for Ron. Central Vermont Railway, Rutland, Green Mountain. Yeah, we'll come up with some railroads for Vermont.
CV, yep,
CV, good old CV. But that would connect you and me pretty close. And I would just follow the old CV. I can get up to see Ron. But nonetheless, yeah, it's really neat that we're both in that same mentality of trying to emulate what the big boys are doing, whether it be sports or whether it be railroads.
Got to ask Ray a railroad question. Carlin-Back Publishing is shutting down. What does that mean?
I actually interviewed the CEO of Fire Crown Media.
Okay.
With my good friend Tony Cook from Model Railroad News. So Fire Crown Media bought Kalmbach and all of their titles, which includes Model Railroader, Trains, and all of that. And as far as we found with Craig Fuller, they're in very good hands.
Okay.
And he is looking to inject. So Fire Crown Media, their claim to fame is a business to business publication called Freight Waves. And they're like the leader in that avenue of publishing freight data and that kind of thing. So, yeah, they're gonna put a good needle and boost some mojo into Model Railroader because it really needed it. It was a diminishing magazine. Model Railroader is our Rolling Stone. Right. It's like the magazine that everybody wants to be on the cover of when it comes to model railroading. Like if you get your layout on the front of Model Railroader, that's golden.
It's Better Homes and Garden. It's Architectural Digest. It's Sports Illustrated. Yeah.
Yeah. It's the SI of our hobby too. Yeah. And we were worried because we're starting to see it start to get real thin, almost down to brochure kind of thing. And now Fire Crown has all the plans to get the enthusiasm back and get that magazine where. But we were able to interview Craig Fuller, and that was a really neat opportunity to hear the business side of publication. And for anybody who wants to listen to that, that's aroundthelayout.com, and then you can scroll down and you can see that interview with Craig Fuller.
We should also mention, Dave, that there's two print publications that take care of the hobby as well. St. Patrick and Sports Sims Magazine. It's pretty much quarterly at this point, and I got to do an article for him. We've all been in there, I think, at least once, or certainly have read it. And Jamie Marshall has brought back Sports Gaming Journal. You've been interviewed for it. I believe I'm next to go as the interview for that, and so it's important to have, I think, for the community, things for people to read. It's one thing to be able to sit there and listen to us as you mow your lawn or make your kids listen in the car. I want to listen to Taylor Swift. No, we're going to be discussing how to use closers in baseball games today.
You don't want to listen to the 8th best guitarist?
That's
Taylor Swift. She was voted the 8th best guitarist by somebody.
In her own household, but that's besides the point. No, you're going to listen to see how you should use your kicker in a football game. But it's important to be able to sit there and read because you don't need to be able to connect it to Spotify or find the file on your phone to read a magazine.
Yeah. Dave, you did an article for the magazine, right?
I did. Yes, I did.
Yeah, I remember.
I think I've done a couple. I think recently I did one for Hockey Bones, but I think the year before I did one comparing like 5 different boxing games as well. So
I think the Hockey Bones is the one I read. Yeah,
I totally agree with Ron. I love having a print thing, or I can just sit on the couch and it's quiet and read through something really good.
What's amazing about print? There's no pop-up ads in this. There's no distraction, right? There's no somebody can't send you an instant message. Yeah, they can't send you an instant message in this. They can't, it is. You can disconnect and just dive deep into whatever the publication is.
There's one of those Facebook groups I belong to now is doing old TV guides from the 70s, like complete issues. And so you scroll through and everything else. And and you see all the ads in there, and I can smell those pictures because TV Guide had a certain scent. Because part of it was the glossy pages that stuck together, and the other
I
part
like
was
when they
was
just put the
newsprint.
listings. There's a couple of groups they like the
Yeah.
70s or 80s, whatever they are, and they'll just put a page.
Yeah.
And it's like it looks like the TV set. The channels are in like a little TV set thing, and they're black and white. And it's just at 6 o'clock it's this, at 7 o'clock it's the news, and there's only like 5 or 6 channels too.
Yeah.
It's not, you
look at some of the ones from the 60s in an entire day's on 4 pages.
Yeah. I enjoy watching those. I really do. And and again, there's always one. I think I've talked this about on the show before. There's one show that was on Channel 38, was like after the Bruins game or after the Red Sox game, and it was always on like at 11, and it was called "It Takes a Thief." And we've talked about this in the show. And I could never stay up late to watch it. They wouldn't let me stay up late to watch it. And by the time I was old enough, it was off the air. But I always remember the TV Guide, like, I wonder what this "It Takes a Thief" show is, because I see it all the time at 11 o'clock. It must be a really good adult show. I've never, ever seen it. I don't know what it is.
You talked about that on a show, and 2 days later, it pops up in my YouTube recommendations.
It's listening. It's listening.
Yeah.
Just, I didn't click on it. I almost sent you the link because I figured if it came up in mine, it would have come up in yours as well.
And it probably was your typical 70s show, like a Charlie's Angels or something like that. But it's just one of those things. It just was like, there was a mystique to the show because I could never stay up that late to watch it. Parents were always like, okay, you're going to bed after the first period of the Bruins game. It's like, well, what about It Takes a Thief? Oh, no.
See, I was in a different era. Usually it was like, Bruins game at 7, followed by the movie Loft after the Bruins games on TV 38, which was one of the very few channels we could get with rabbit ears at my parents' house.
I worked at a Denny's up here in Massachusetts when I was a kid. One of my very first jobs. And Dana Hersey would come in all the time, like on a Saturday or Sunday morning, and sit at the counter and have his coffee and have his breakfast. And cool. no one bothered him. It was kind of neat. Nobody bothered him, but of course some of the now in Denny's, that you could like the cooks were open. There was a window to the kitchen so you could see them cook. And of course, when he would come in, one of the cooks be like, "Hey guys, what's on the movie Loft tonight?" Just trying to, it's just like, just let him have his breakfast. He's just minding his own business. You know what I mean? But yeah, we had him come in quite often. Actually, he was in quite often. So, Ben says, it took me a while to figure out the 12 a.m. program sign off. Yeah. That used to be a killer back. If you left your TV on after they played the anthem, that static come on, and that just oh my gosh, it woke you up.
Patterns.
That was that's when you were old.
I got a story of the reverse of that. 86, we moved from where I lived to where my folks live. And the local AM station carried the Red Sox. So it was finally nice to not listen to the Red Sox on WTIC, which would fade in and out and be stuck with the damn Whalers till May. Like, I want to listen to the Sox. Chuck Caton and Andre Lacroix. No, go away. Baseball. Go lose to Montreal now, okay? And so I fell asleep. They were playing the Blue Jays late into the 86 season. And so I fell asleep on a Friday night, listened to that. Station signed off at midnight, and I forgot that I had the radio on. 5 o'clock in the morning, the national anthem blares into my ear because I, used to hear whatever it was, and came down the air like,
yeah, that was funny.
Yeah. Were you able to get
one more guest before we sign off here tonight?
There you go.
Grant Fines joins us. Hi, Grant.
Hey guys.
Now, you've been a busy boy, haven't you?
I have.
Oh, okay. What you been doing?
Hey, Dave,
Yeah, sorry, I got a real echo and a delay here.
Dave, thank you for coming by.
Thanks, Dave.
Hey, good. Yeah, life has been good. Just been busy with a non-work project. But
So you got the hockey game going now, and the football game. You're doing some CFL seasons, it sounds like, right?
yeah, we've got a big delay here. So yeah, the latest has been one of my favorite ways of playing the games is the in season, and so the CFL in season set just got released this past week. And
oh, nice.
do the same thing for NHL and NFL in the fall, but just trying to get caught up. It's been it's been really great responsive to the games.
Nice.
Fantastic. Yeah. I got to get my hands on that hockey game. I still haven't got it yet. We'll have to square away with that.
It's coming. I'm hoping like this week I'm going to be all caught up.
Nice. I was telling a story. I was playing your football game. I was playing the 76 Buccaneers and the 76 Vikings. I was trying out the 76 season, and the Buccaneers could not move the ball, as you know, they couldn't, but they did throw like a 55-yard bomb, long pass for a touchdown. And I was talking about how I flipped the cards, and it was just like, okay, it's a long pass, so you subtract this from the quarterback, and it's, you know, oh, it's this, and then, and I think it was 0 to 10. I was in the 0 to 10 column, which is the slimmest possibility of making a catch. I flipped the card, and it was possibility of getting deflected. They missed the deflection, and when I flipped the last card, every box on the card was complete pass, including the 0 to 10. And that's probably the only card in the deck that long pass would have been completed with. And the Tampa Bay got this touchdown. And I could just picture, this was in Minnesota, by the way, I could just picture Buccaneers in their white jerseys, expansion team, no wins, and they just throw this Hail Mary, and this guy just catches it, and it just stunned the crowd in Minnesota. Like, how can this team that is so bad complete a 55-yard touchdown pass? And that's the only score they got. They lost the game like 27-7, but it was so much fun just pulling off that play out, just like, wow. And I went back and I reviewed the cards. I was like, yep, that's a touchdown.
Yeah, it's the one card, yeah. And I love hearing that, because that's, you know, when it kind of came up with a game, that's any game designer, I think, wants to hear that they've actually got the, you know, that narrative, right? Yeah. Any game designer wants to hear that.
Absolutely. Now, you know, one of the things that's kind of changed in the last 5 years, I know there have been CFL games out there for a while, but the proliferation of other sports besides the big four. I mean, there's the boxing games. I mean, we talked about, you know, Title Bout and Title Bout 2 and Gary Brown and Legends of Boxing and his soccer game. And because of PDFs, we can now import games from Britain. So there's cricket games available, and there's track and field games available, and car racing games available. And again, all on a small scale. I mean, Keith did, you know, red, white, and blue racing and the wrestling games and all that. I mean, it's not just, I mean, the big change in the last 20 years, it's not just Stratton APPA anymore, but you can literally play whatever it is that you want. And we're not quite to the point where you can play every soccer season ever yet, but you can get lost in whatever rabbit hole you want to go down, and it's a quality product. And it doesn't even, and as Steve knows, doesn't even have to be real players. You know, there are quality fictional games out there that weren't around 5-10 years ago, or not to the extent that they are today. I think all of the play games have a fictional element. Steve, am I right?
Yes. Yep. Yeah, that was one of the things that drew me to it, is that every game he put out, he would also have when he put out the pro season, he'd also put out a concurrent fictional season.
Right. And I don't think that 20 years ago we would have ever thought that was possible. That it's
people playing them consistently,
and people playing them and enjoying them and sharing that.
Yeah.
I want Ray. Do they have that in the model train? Do they have fictional stuff, or is it all based on real trains?
No, it's called freelance in the world of model railroading. So folks will create their own railroad, and then and then they either runs in real areas, or they'll freelance even the area that it runs in, create towns and create areas, and kind of some of the best layouts I can think of. There's a guy named John Parker in the BNSF Fall River Division, and that sounds awesome, right? Fall River Division, but it's not real. So don't try to look it up on a map, because you'll never find it. But he's done such a great job. He took a Class 1 railroad and created a new area for it. So
nice.
It's again, the parallels just seem to, you know, the things that are similar between your guys' world and ours is really neat.
Grant, what's the most satisfying thing as a game creator? You know, seeing your own creations and that. I mean, what's the biggest enjoyment you get out of doing that?
Just hearing, you know, when other people say, like what Dave just talked about with the big Hail Mary pass, when, you know, they've had that experience, that I think for me, when I created the game, when I originally created 49 football back in like 2015, 2016, I really had not intended on putting it out into the market. I just threw a couple of videos out there and guys said, hey, can we get that? And so, for me, it was, I wanted to have a game that really kind of told a story, and then it had the tension build up every play. And that's, with the football, it was a little different because I didn't have to do it the way I did with where you're actually dealing with numbers and, forcing you to go through a little bit of computation on each play. But that was done purposely to try and keep our minds active. But it also helps build the tension in a play. You can kind of get it in your mind what's going on. And for me, moving from the computer to the tabletop back in around 2010, 2012, that was the biggest thing for me with the computer. Was I wanted the computer to tell me what was going on with every play. I wanted the programmer to take the time to actually tell me what's going on, give me enough narrative that if a pass is deflected, that I knew that there was a good defender on the play or something. Where with my games, I try to build that into it. So when I hear somebody else, whether it's from a video, or I've had so many emails from guys telling me different games they've had and different things they've had in a game, I think for me, that's really what makes it feel good, makes me want to keep doing it, force me into doing the hockey game and trying to do a good job with the hockey game. And then we'll see what's next once I get past this little lull here.
And Steve, what was the kicker for you? I mean, you obviously done the channel and the creative content, and we all, have times where we're all quite creative, and it's like, no, I don't want to do anything with the camera or the microphone. What was the magic moment for you?
I don't know if there was a moment. Well, no, I take it back. I guess the moment was when the first time I met Keith after I had started my channel.
Okay.
And got to hear him say like how great it was that people were finding his games because of my channel. And it was like, oh, that's great, because that was what I was thinking. Because the reason why I started the channel is when History Maker Baseball came out. And it was like, oh my God, this is the baseball game that I've been waiting my whole life for. And I bet you, like the Dice Tower isn't going to cover this game. And no one's going to know. But so I was like, oh, I'll set up a camera and do something. So that really like solidified it. That was like, oh, I'm doing, and he would tell me like people would reach out to him and say, hey, I saw this video. And so I'd like to get your game. And so that was probably that happened in 2015. It was a couple years after I'd started the channel. We met he had a Fall Classics little mini meetup in Wisconsin, which actually that was a very fateful meeting because that ended up there was like 4 people there that have now become huge members of the Play community. Al Wilson was there. That's the first time I met Al Wilson.
Oh, wow. Okay.
But yeah, Travis Jansen was there. Bob Hansen was there. So yeah, it was just kind of funny that they met a bunch of people that have now, become like big members of the Play community. So that was really, and it was also kind of fun just because up until that point, I had never met anybody that had watched my show. So it was, it's like, oh, people are watching. Okay. That's,
I keep waiting for someone to walk up to me on the street and say, I've seen you. And go, where?
Right, yeah.
It's like, I shouldn't be famous for anything that you would know me for. Oh, dear Lord, what did I do to you? I'm so sorry.
It's called quasi celebrity, and it's only in very small areas and small groups. But
I'm a double Z-list YouTube celebrity, is how I consider myself. Ray, have you ever had a manufacturer or distributor come up to you and say, after such and such was discussed on your show, I sold X?
I haven't been credited for any sales, but I definitely have good relationships with a lot of the manufacturers, and they've been a key part of it, the success of the show and the support of the show. So yeah, I've had good chats with them. We've got some potential projects working with one manufacturer. I have a rail car out touring the world right now. It's an HO scale box car. And I also have an N scale version of it too. So HO is about a little bit smaller than the scale of a Matchbox car. Matchbox cars are 1/64th. This is HO, which is 1/87th. And then the N scale is like Micro Machines of Model Railroad, right? It's a lot smaller. But both of them are painted up in the Around the Layout podcast colors and logos. And it's scheduled to make, the HO one is scheduled to make over, well, just close to 100 stops.
Oh, nice.
Over all across the country, and are actually around the world. There's stops scheduled in Australia, New Zealand, Switzerland, the UK.
Nice.
Yeah, so it's
Very
a lot of fun.
cool.
A lot of really, great camaraderie, because now everybody's going to get their chance to put that car on their layout and take a picture, create a story behind it. Okay, it was hauling. One guy had a club, and one of the areas they had, like, jackknives were like their big commodity in the area that he lived. So he said it was hauling boxes of jackknives going from this place to that place. And
Do you know
it's
what would
just
be
a lot-
really
it's a lot of
cool
fun.
is depending where it went, if they would take your car and take a picture in front of like something famous, like if there was in
Oh,
Japan,
that'd be cool.
to
Right.
get a picture of that with Mount Fuji in the background, and if it's in
Yeah.
Australia, like a bunch of kangaroos, you know what I mean? Just to kind of
Yeah,
give it the feel, like, because it's
Right.
on the layout, that's great. But if it's out in the wild and it's something that everybody could, like the Leaning Tower of Pizza or something like that, you know what I mean?
Like another one that's probably a parallel, and it makes me think of this, is that we've got railroads over in Australia, New Zealand, model railroads, but they're modeling American railroads, which is funny. You think in Australia
That's
they'd be
interesting.
modeling Australia, but they love, and I
Yes.
imagine it's the same thing for the gaming community, right? I mean, I'm sure that there's some international sports, but just how
Yes.
powerful and how influential American sports are, I'm sure you're getting a lot
Oh,
of the same thing.
It's a show that we'll probably be doing because of the shipping costs. Even to get something from Canada to the States, as Grant knows, is
Yeah.
it's a small child in
Yeah.
cost. And so, especially because of PDFs that we have listeners, and a couple of regular listeners in the UK, and that they've done some time over here and brought stuff back. And so, yes, I think it's much more. And there are some sports international, but golf and tennis, obviously, but there are some that do play baseball and
Cricket
American.
is another one people are talking about.
Yeah, I played that, and and there are quite a few people over in Europe that watch American football.
Mhm.
Right.
The Green Bay Packers are universal. I mean, what I was going to make was that the three of us in the top row here have sold a lot of games. Don't know what we get for compensation for doing so, but we do a video on X game, and it sells. We move a lot of products, and when Gardner got into APPA football, you must have sold a couple $1,000s worth of product there.
I'm not sure, but maybe.
It is kind of stunning when people go, well, you're my pusher.
Yeah.
Great. I don't need to be anybody's baggage in a bad marriage. Okay.
Yeah, we get a lot of those. It's like, geez, now I got to buy another game, or now I got to buy another season, or here's another thing to check out. So yeah, so I get all that. Yeah.
Yeah. And so I just wondered, Ray, and because of what you do, how much product actually gets moved because it gets talked about on your show or what you use.
I hope the conversations that we have with the people that come on our show and we interview hopefully are influencing people to continue or start modeling.
Yes.
I don't know what we're selling. I mean, obviously you need stuff to do it, but I think just as much as you guys, to continue gaming or start gaming or, find a new enjoyment within it, it's all about relatability, right? It's about, the folks finding in what really is lone wolf hobbies, or mostly lone wolf hobbies, is finding somebody to say, hey, I'm not weird. There are other people like me. And then on top of that, finding new ways to participate in that.
We get those notes all the time.
Yeah.
I didn't realize that
I find that sometimes it's like, okay, I've played all the games there are. Okay, I need to play what I got, and there's no more games. And then a guy like Grant comes along. He's like, hey, Dave, I got this football game I want you to check out. And there's another game I got to play, and it's fantastic. It's like, well, now I got to share this with people because this game is so fun. So that's what I find happens, that we just keep finding more games, and that's the part of it there. Grant, I got a question for you here. So you've done American football and Canadian football, correct?
Yep.
Is it two completely different games you have to make, or is there any kind of common ground between American football and Canadian football that can share, or is it like, no, this is this and this is this, and there's nothing between them?
No, there's a lot of share. I mean, it's kind of the same way of professional football and college football. Like there's a lot of commonality there. Statistics are different, harder to come by to create your teams and whatnot. But the difference, if you want to play Canadian football with what I have for 49 sports,
I gotta put that back up because this will be an audio version. And so Dave Arlington, who was on earlier, says, Gardner, I played all the games, and Grant says, hold my beer. Continue, Grant. I'm sorry to interrupt.
That's okay. So, with Canadian football, you just really need to know the rules. If you know the rules, then everything else is pretty much the same. Like if a guy's going to have a running number of 45, whether if it's NFL or CFL, it translates to the same thing. It's 4.5 yards in my game, basically. So it's just a matter of knowing the differences in the game. You can just pick it up and play it.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it's not too terrible then. Okay.
No, it's not too terrible at all, but you do need to know the rules of the game. Like I don't go through that. I don't have any of the, in my rules tell you how to play CFL football. There
are no rouges in the NFL unless the Cowboy cheerleaders got into the makeup early.
But, to go back to your previous point you were talking about with Ray, with the, like how many people do you get notices from basically when you've had them on, and does it work well? And I can tell you that it really does, from my perspective, from, Dave, when you have had it on and showed the game off, there's definitely an uptick. Steve, same thing. When you did a preview for me, I think it was the football game, the Quick X football, definitely an uptick. There's a few other guys who maybe don't have the same following that you have, but they'll play a game on their, they'll maybe have 300 or 400 subscribers, and there'll always be a little uptick. So I think there's guys out there who are just not sure about a game. And, there's such a spectrum of games out there. You want to know if a game's good for you or not, because there's a lot of choices now. So it definitely, kudos to you guys for taking the time to do this tonight and for what you do, because it does, for people like me who are trying to make a little business out of selling sports games, it makes a big difference. It really does.
And that's one of the things that Ron and I talked about when we started the show 5 years ago, is that we wanted to have people on. We wanted to have game developers on. We wanted to talk to them and see what it was like developing games. We wanted to have people who played the games come on. We wanted to have, people like Steve Tower who made the videos of the games. And I think we've kind of accomplished that. I think we've got a pretty well-rounded show where it's not just all one here. It's a little bit of, I think if you listen to the show over time, you're going to get a little bit of everything of what's going on in the community.
We're also customers. I mean, some stuff is furnished to us. But today, for instance, and there'll be one particular person out there that will be really happy about this. I bought the Action PC football game today. I haven't bought it in a couple of years, and it's on sale for the week, and so I bought it. And you would think, and I'm not asking for this. This is not coming across as a beg if Mr. Cook watches, that for all the Action PC baseball games that I've had on my channel over the last 6 years, that I would never have to pay for that. No, I buy it every year. And glad to buy it every. I mean, this is not a beg for give me free stuff. We put our and Ray does the same thing with the train stuff. We pay for the products for the most part that we use, and at some point maybe we get in a good relationship with the creator of that, because it really is. I think Cook has 3 employees. Grant's a one-man operation. Joe Bryan's a one-man operation. Payoff pitch. It's Keith and Sam for play, right, Steve?
Yes.
Yeah. It's 1 or 2 father and son or mom and pop operations, and they want to get to know you. They want to know what their customers want. But I think it's another, it's, if you ever watch old SCTV clips on YouTube, there was the great fake talk show, the Sam Lee Maudlin Show, with the late Joe Flaherty, and John Candy plays the sidekick, and it's Eugene Levy playing the washed up comic, and Catherine O'Hara playing the Liza Minnelli type character, and it's 10 minutes of them all just kind of self-congratulating each other. You are just really the most, and I think we've done a very good job of not doing that. We do not being overly critical of things, but I think it kind of comes across that like you out there, we are customers too, and we play the product. It's not just, you know, here's your book, here's your sample chapter, please write a review or interview me for 30 minutes. I mean, we are consumers of the product as well as,
and we're also game testers too. I mean,
that's the one thing that really has surprised me the most in the last 5 years is how often we're handed, break this game, please break this game, and we're honest with them.
We were working with Pocket Pennant Run the last couple of weeks. Is you know, Matt and Craig were putting out the new module for the PC, and Craig had it, and I was like, Craig, send it to me. He's like, it's not ready. I says, I know, send it to me. So he sent it to me, and I sent it to Ron, and me and Ron found all kinds of problems with it.
Three or four times we've sat down with it in the last
before he was ready to release it, and he's like, oh, back to the drawing board. I got to fix this and fix that. To a point now, it's like real close to coming out. But
yeah,
what do we got? Like 10 or 15 hours into testing that game?
Yeah.
You know, and so, and we did it just to help them out, and because, you know, I'm going to play it, and so I want it to be good.
I don't think you and I are on the top of Richard Hanna's Christmas card list.
Yeah, when they did, was it Stone Cold Hockey?
Stone Cold Hockey.
Oh my gosh, we rebuilt that from the ground up, especially graphically. I was like, no, this has got to go here, this has got to go here, and then every day I had a new chain for them, and yeah. They were not happy with us, but at the end, the product.
Well, I think Gary was fine with what we did, but you know, as a programmer, it's especially when
I was like, you need to do this. He's like, I don't know if I can do this. Says, no, this does not look like a hockey game. This looks like a baseball game. Make it look like a hockey game, and he did. And credit to him, that it's fantastic. That is so fantastic. You know.
So in my wildest dreams, I would never have expected that. Never would have expected to be, you know, do something with this. What's wrong with it? You know, what's.
And well, Ben brings up this right here. You know, the season ticket football beta. I did a video on that.
I give Play Dresslock a lot of credit to making that an open beta.
Yeah, he let everybody play that.
We'd have everyone do it because that was just. There wasn't any secrets that you had to keep with it. You could be as honest as you could, and if they didn't like your feedback, then that. And
he took a lot of our suggestions, and he's already put them into the game. Just a couple little things there that just made more sense. And sometimes as a designer, you don't quite see it from the customer's point of view.
I think that's the other thing is, I don't know, Steve, if you've ever designed a game or not. You know, you think, you know, you have to know. Okay. You know, it's kind of like being a beta reader for someone else's book. You know, you don't see the problems with something because you're used to whatever it is that you got, that you figured it out, and someone goes, it's 3rd and goal from the 3, and I can't pass it all, or, you know, just making whatever that. I think one of the things that came up in that was it was 1st and goal or 2nd and goal from the 15 or whatever. Fair catch at the 1.
There was a fair catch at the 1. You're not going to fair catch at the 1, but that was one thing that was in the game, and so we brought that up to Clay.
Know, 3rd and long from the 16 or 17, and you're in the or 13 or whatever, and you can't throw a medium pass. Like, no, you're throwing a medium pass there. You're not dinking and dunking on that. And again, things that you think of that work in your head, and you understand how that works until someone goes, that would never happen. Fair catch at the 1 being the perfect example of that. And again, this isn't a toot our own horn, but, you know, I mean, fair play for him for putting it out in the wild and having people do it. And, you know, we would get, I know that he went to play and such. And so, looking forward to see what the next iteration of that is, because looking forward to seeing what the changes that he made.
Yeah. Well, you remember with the Stone Cold Hockey, the computer game, when they had the stats, it was points, goals, and assists,
which is how it is in soccer.
Right. And with hockey, it's goals, assists, points. So you add your goals, your assists, and that's your total points. And it was, I harped on him until he fixed it. I says, you have to put goals, assists, points. That's how hockey is. And again, I'm pretty proud of not only the stat page, but the box score. Cause I was working on the layout of it, and you were finding the bugs. So Ron's finding the bugs, and I'm kind of redesigning how things are laid out so it looks like a hockey box score or a hockey. Yeah,
there was a pretty good beta team with that. It wasn't just us. I don't want.
Yeah, there was a handful of people, but yeah, when we got done with that, I mean, all of us, it was like I'm pretty happy with it.
Yeah, I got the screenshots someplace. But, you know, I think that's the thing that has surprised me the most. I talked about earlier, George Gurney wishing me a happy birthday. I mean, that's,
Yeah.
I mean, it's kind of like, again, if someone walked up to me on the streets here and go, I watched your Willie Mays tribute. You were incredible.
That'd be
What?
creepy, wouldn't it be?
That would be, yeah. No, I don't.
I mean,
need
it's one
people-
thing to get a message on the social media here, but yeah, if you're out and walking down the street, you're in the coffee shop, it's like,
I'm gonna
hey,
go get my coffee in the morning, and
Yaz Grand Slam on APPA for baseball the other night. It
you
was
really
awesome.
mean to have Ricky Henderson steal third? Oh, no, you watched.
Oh boy. Well, what's neat, and you guys talk about these neat opportunities that have come from the podcast, and building relationships with manufacturers and creators of games, and for us, it's manufacturers.
Sure.
But I think what's also neat for the listener, and whether it be on your listeners or my listeners, when we talk to these folks, is finding out that they're just like us.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, when you find out that they're gamers too, and that they actually play these games and that they're into them, just as like when we find out that the president of Scale Trains is, a model railroader too, and that he loves, certain locomotives. And it's not just like he owns a company that he's sitting there like Scrooge McDuck swimming in money and doesn't care how it's getting, how the tank's getting filled, right? They're actually us.
He doesn't work for EA?
People. No, it doesn't work for EA. Yeah, they care, which is really cool.
Yeah, and again, I mean, all the creators that we've had on, Grant tonight and all that, played other games, and here's something that they want to tweak. I liked GameX, but I think I can do this better, or I didn't see how, this worked in this game. And it's always interesting for me when we get handed a new game. One of the things that Dave and I will always talk about it, what does this game remind you of? And I see a little bit of this and this and that and that. And I liked how.
Well, it's almost like a band run. If you get a new band comes out and they put out an album,
okay,
is it original? No, there's going to
No.
be a little bit of Beatles in there, a little bit of Zeppelin in there,
right?
A little bit of Ozzy in there, a little bit of Taylor Swift in there, whatever. You know what I mean? It's like you really can't create a brand new genre of music. And if you did, it's probably so out there that no one would listen to it. So basically everything kind of this mainstream rock and roll thing, there's a little bit of everything in there. And I think that's with the game community too, because no matter what game we play, there's a little bit of that, there's a little bit of this, there's a little bit of that, a little bit of this. And it kind of has to be. Grant, would you say that if someone creating a game, there's no really completely unique way to make a game, because first of all, people are used to playing a certain way, and you got to kind of feel that out. But at the same time, I don't know how you could create something that's totally crazy unique.
Yeah, it's a good question. Yeah, because there are. I mean, so many games. Like I like, and my wife and I play a lot of games like Everdell or a game called Obsession, or they're like Catan, Settlers of Catan. So we play a lot of those games too, and just like you said, Ron, like whenever we play it, I'm always thinking, if I did this game, what would I do differently? How would I do things differently? But it's not coming up with a new mechanic. It's just how would I tweak, what's known out there.
Because when I looked at Dave looking at Quick Decks football, I went, he's done a really good job working on Solitaire Pro Football. Have you ever played Solitaire Pro Football?
No.
Wow.
No.
And so we both went, yeah, you've taken a pre-existing game and improved on it in a lot of different, not that the first game is bad by any stretch of the imagination, but yeah, you might want to look at that.
I'll have to go take a look at it.
It's different enough. It is different
It's not
enough.
the same game, but we
it's
went
the
through
same idea with the flipping of the cards is what it is. And trying to determine if the pass is complete. It's different. It's not exactly the same. It's not
exactly
at all.
the same, but we could always curious to see when we're handed something new, what we can the late Greg Sauvant, who created all those wonderful baseball games,
right?
Valhalla, which never got the love that it should have gotten, was the marriage of Strat and APPA. He had taken that game, he had taken those games, which he obviously had played, hooked them up in the back seat of a station wagon, and produced Valhalla. And it was an underrated game. It was complicated as hell. It was an underrated game. And, he was never satisfied with what he did. And so he came up with Fall Classic and roster card, which I love and all that, but it's always curious when you get something that's kind of off the beaten path and go, I see where your inspiration came from for doing whatever the specific mechanic is. The first time I ever saw payoff pitch, I went, that's something that Strat should have done with the instead of having the 50-50 with the pitcher's columns and the hitter's columns, have the pitcher establish whether it's a good pitch or a bad pitch, and then go, that sort of thing, to see the creativity that comes from how, because there's these old school, Strat and APPA and maybe Pursue the Pennant being these old school games, 40 years plus, and all these games that have come out in the last 5, 10, 15 years, and how people have polished ideas and come up with new ideas. That's why I keep saying it's the golden age of, maybe the golden generation now, of gaming, because you're taking someone's, take your favorite recipe, you can make it 1,000 different ways.
Right. Well, I think, with sports games too, that's, how many different ways can you do football? A running play on football.
Right. And it's
so many
tough.
things you can do. And same with hockey. When I did the football game, I'd only ever played Status Pro way back when.
I've never played. That's the one I've never played.
And it was a 4-hour slug to get through it.
Mm-hmm.
And then I played a game called Sports Action Canadian Football, which was an amazing game. That was back in the 70s, late 70s, early 80s. I can't remember the designer's name, but it was an incredible game. It's available out there, and I think there's a lot of free downloads for it. Incredible game. So I played that one. And then when I got back into kind of sports board games in 2009, I think it was, I ordered, and that's where I got to know Keith, play games. So I got Cold Snap. And I got Cold Snap and I started playing it. And then the wheels just started turning. My business I was in was starting to wind down. I thought, I can do this. I can make a game. And then I thought, I don't want to play any other game. I just want to create my own game now. And I did the same thing with hockey. I never played Stratomatic or APPA or Inside the Crease, or I can't remember some of the other ones. I never played those. And I purposely tried not to, because I didn't want to feel like I was stealing from somebody else.
Yeah, no, I saw the look on your face when I talked about that other game. It's like, I wasn't accusing you of stealing it, but but I could see where I like mechanic A, B, and C. Here's my D, E, and F twists on A, B, and C. Doesn't mean that the original game is bad. It's a different enough game, but I saw the look of horror in your eyes when I said, "Oh, Solitaire Pro Football." Oh. The creator of Sports Action Canadian Football also created National Pro Hockey in the 80s.
Yeah.
I got a question for you guys. By the way. I've been thinking about it because I've been editing a podcast going out, and I confess to Tony Cook, who I was holding the show with, that when I go out rail fanning, it gets me in trouble, because when I go out there, when I start to see different locomotives, different rail cars going by, now I go, oh, can I own that? Can I buy that? Can I buy it? Is that the same thing for you guys when you watch sports on TV, or even if you go back into maybe like YouTube and watch like a classic game? Like, does that seemingly get you guys in trouble too, where it's like, I got to recreate this, or I got to play this, or I want to do it on my own kind of thing? Does that really start to kick a spark up in you guys?
Depends on what kind of mood I'm in at a particular time.
Yeah. I think, we talk about all the times, like, I'll be on YouTube or something like that, and they'll show a clip, and it's like, okay, now I have to go buy that season and play that game. And no matter what game it is, it's like, whatever. It's like, okay, I saw a clip of Bobby Orr scoring a goal against the Toronto Maple Leafs in 73. I need to get that 73 season now and play that, or I saw a clip of a football game. It's like, son of a gun. Now I got to, that's what triggers me to yeah, it does. So I go out in the wild and I see that stuff. I don't know about you guys.
One of the things that has changed a lot in the last, not necessarily the last 5 years, but maybe the last 10, is that, especially the computer games, is that either when you purchase a product, every season comes with it, or the seasons are cheap enough that you can buy in bulk. I mean, I have every Action PC baseball season he's ever made. I probably have most of the football seasons he's ever made, and most of the hockey seasons and most of the basketball seasons, just to have them, because hey, you get down to $4 or $5 a season. That's nothing. That doesn't even get you, double cheeseburger anymore at Mickey D's, for crying out loud.
Right.
So they're just there. And so I think it's easier to, when you're sitting there bored one night going, did Gale Sayers really just run through 20 different people? I can do that, or whatever it is. I mean, today I saw for the first time video clips from the 1970 AFC Championship game, which up until this past year was the last time that a conference championship or league championship was played in Baltimore, because the Ravens, when they went to the Super Bowl, those games were on the road. So the last one before this year was 1970 or New Year's 71. And there was 3 minutes worth of clips, and so that's the sort of thing that goes, oh, well, isn't that interesting? Oh, I have it. I can do it, and I think that that's one of the things that just wasn't necessarily available 20 years ago. I mean, there are companies that charge you $30 a season, and and that same company might charge you $54 for 4 or 5 teams, and you got to print out the rest of them. And so it's a pain in the tushy to sit there and go, oh, I want to do this. I mean, instant gratification, just like with everything else, is new or newer. And I think that it kind of leads to that. I saw Gardner do a video on this. Oh, isn't that the cutest little poodle?
Hi, baby.
Oh, that's a Labradoodle, right? A poodle, right?
Nice.
That's a golden doodle.
It's a golden. I've never seen one.
And there's
Look at 3 of them.
And
Beautiful.
a palm and a chewy on the floor.
yeah, not just there, the whole house.
Oh yeah. And so to get back to it, yes, it's a lot easier to do that now, because you can sit there and stand on a nice day and look at oh wow. I'm sure I would imagine, Ray, kind of like with a lot of the community here, that the newer stuff isn't as much of an interest. The new Amtrak stuff that's coming out, I can't imagine that people are going to rush out and throw that, build layouts around that.
You'd be surprised. It depends. Like it depends on, I think, and it's an age thing. It's like,
right.
What can I relate to? What have I seen? I've never seen, I didn't live in the diesel transition era from steam to diesel. So the first generation diesels, unless a short line is still running those diesels somewhere, really doesn't interest me. Nor would maybe, Dave's weird, so we can't even talk about Dave and his turn of the century baseball games that he likes to play over there. But but for most guys, it's what they can relate to. Like, okay, I saw the '86 World Series, or I saw this, or I saw for
right.
you guys, and it's the same thing for me. It's like,
oh, you're a Ranger fan,
yeah,
so
right.
94.
94 is my year. Like, I'm still stuck there. But I think, and that's relatable to me, but maybe somebody that was born 10, 15 years ago is certainly not going to appeal to Mark Messier and Adam Graves and Mike Richter.
Right.
They're going to appeal to more of a Shusterkin and, the modern players. So I think it's the same thing with us with model railroading. A young kid sees that Amtrak stuff all the time. They go trackside, they see it. So they're going to relate to it and they're going to want to emulate it. And I think probably it kind of relates a little bit to your world as well.
I could give 2 hoots about steam trains.
Yeah.
They're really not an interest to me. Yeah. Electric and diesel, I can get into that. But as far as, it's a retro. I'm glad that they preserved the engine from 1897.
Yeah.
But
so you didn't watch the Wild Wild West?
I did, as a matter of fact. It's on like Sunday mornings or something. I actually
put that was on, I think it was on Hulu or something like that. And I put it on. I used to love it as a kid. I didn't realize it was only like 2 or 3 seasons. It felt like there was like 15 seasons. And I put
right
it on
after It Takes a Thief, right?
Yeah. I watched a couple of episodes. It didn't hold up well time-wise. It did not age well at all.
And
anyone under the whole bit, but it's like, I watched 2 episodes. Like, I think I'm done.
Anyone under the age of 40 is going, I don't remember Will Smith doing that on television.
Exactly.
That was fun. Steve, let me ask you a question here.
Sure.
When you get asked how accurate a game is, what's your initial response with that? We get that all the time. How accurate is this game? What do you usually do with that?
I don't know. I guess I think now my reputation precedes me, and people know not to ask me that. I don't get that question much anymore, and I've admitted that I'm not a math person, and so I'm very happy to let creators do the math, and I can just enjoy, the experience. And so the more the math is hidden from me, the better. I mean, what I like to say to people is, if it's in the realm of possibility, if it's, somewhat realistic, like, someone's not hitting 100 home runs in a season, although who knows, that might happen in our lifetime, maybe, or just things like that. Teams not scoring, 50, 60 points a game in basketball or in football or something, or in basketball, I guess. But yeah, and I guess that's one of the reasons why on my show now I only do playthroughs, so people can see the flow of a game, and that's what I'm more concerned getting across. Right. Is is this going to be something worth your time to sit down and set up and play, and you kind of get the idea of how the game feels, and then I kind of let the realistic, that's to taste, as as Ron was would say, that I let people decide on their own whether that's
I'm kind of the same way. If it's believable, if I can look at this, if I'm playing your game, what computer, tabletop, whatever it is, and I can realistically look and say, I can see that happening, I'm okay with it. I really am. I've played, was it Hockey Bones one time, and a guy had one goal in the season, and I played one game and he got that goal. And it's like, well, does this mean he's going to get 82 more because he got one a game, or will he not score the rest of the season? I guess I'd have to play out that season to find out, but I'm okay with him getting that one goal right now. I'm actually okay with that.
I played the Braves and the Giants today, and Stratton, Tommy Glavine hit a triple.
Oh, wow.
Wasn't on his card, on the pitcher's card, but pitchers can't stop triples in Stratton. So.
Now, if he hit 3 triples, then you start to wonder.
Right, but just it happens.
And when someone I forget, there was some somewhat famous baseball player, he had a season where he just didn't hit a home run. I don't know why it's eluding me now, but and it's like, but they're still professional athletes.
Yeah.
So if he hits a home run while I'm playing out a game, like, it's not that it's broken the game, or now if he goes on and hits 30 home runs over the season, and they in real life only had 1 or 2, well, then maybe there's something. But
the same way,
right?
Now, Grant, how do you handle that in your hockey game? If you got a guy that never scored a goal, or at least not in that season, does he still have a chance to get a goal in some kind of a fluke, or hit a skate, or a deflect? I mean, I feel that anybody, even the worst defenseman in the league, throws that puck on the net, and that has a chance of going in. And so in your games, so if they have 0 goals on the season, what do you do?
So the way I came up with a game was there's a goalie rating and there's a shooter rating. So you always have a chance. So even if your shooter ratings is 0, there are some modifiers in the game that'll give you a +1. So it doesn't happen very often. I haven't had it yet. I've had a couple of chances. I was thinking maybe Serge Savard back in the early 70s, maybe something like that. And he has a 0, had to roll a 1. He rolled the 1, and the goalie made the save and it wasn't a very good goalie. So yeah, it can happen. And I was actually rooting for him to score the goal, even though he had never scored a goal. But I think there are some guys out there who are like, yeah, but you know what, he didn't score a goal, so he shouldn't score a goal. So
it's an interesting paradox, because technically you're replaying the season, and so in Strat, if you didn't score a goal, you can't score a goal. There's no goal. There's no goal scores chances on your card. But if you roll an 8, it's a rebound, and so you could get so it could set up a goal. So it's the effect of throwing the puck at the net, hoping you get a good bounce, and maybe you're someone else that has the right rating can score on the inside column, or on the rebound column. It's an interesting paradox, and it kind of comes up a conversation in different sports every once in a while. Sure. About can someone hit the home run that did not hit the home run, or one of the things is, do you in football cap someone if their longest run of the year was 17 yards?
I was just about to say that.
Do you cap the run at 17 yards? And it's like, no, I don't personally.
In the APPA football, it's like, if your longest touchdown throw was 55 yards, That's it. So if you got it on your 20 and you roll a 66 and that's a touchdown, we're capping that at 55 yards. I'm not a big fan of that. Because again, if it's my desktop, it's my season. I want to see how my guys do in your game on my tabletop. I'm not worried about what happened in real life. I'd like that to be a part of it. But if whoever the quarterback is rolls a 66 and that's a touchdown pass from, I think I did a Super Bowl. Was it 67 Super Bowl replay with the Jets and the Colts?
Jets and Colts. So Super Bowl
And
3.
I think that Unitas threw a 90-yard touchdown pass. He had the ball in his 10, and I rolled a 66, and it was the touchdown. And his long, but Ron looked it up. And he says he did have a one that was quite long. But some people cap it. I don't like to cap
you can
anything.
actually do that in the Strat PC game. There's an option for you to cap runs and catches at season longs.
Yes,
Well,
yes. You
that-
can.
that's
Nothing
a
I
good
would
thing,
do,
too.
but
I think it's important from a game designer perspective. And when we were at play.com, Steve was there and Clay Dreslow and Joe Bryan were there, and we were talking about this, and we kind of came to the same agreement that what's important is that you let people know what is your game, what's your game about. Can you, like with 49 quick decks football or on the turf football, it's your choice. You can cap it if you want to, but it's not made to be capped. But just know going in, if you're going to buy the game, if that's important to you, then what you're up against. And I think that was kind of the consensus that was just make sure from a game designer's perspective that you let people know exactly what your game does so they can make a decision. And that's where, coming back to you guys and some of the other guys who are doing, playthroughs of games and doing reviews of games, it's good because then people can make an informed decision of whether or not it's something for them.
I go back to some of the things I think I've heard Dave say, like, this happened in this game. Can I see if it happens again? And it's basically taking that reality of the players, putting them in your alt universe and seeing if it shakes out the same way.
yeah.
And, maybe, in your alt universe, an opportunity is created that may not have existed in real just by the shaking up of the alt universe. So I can imagine, again, I'm the outside looking in, but if I was to play a game and get the exact same result as the real thing, what's the point? It'd be like,
we talked about that. Yeah. Why play the game?
We've done shows.
Yeah. Well, if you want the exact same result, so it's kind of fun, like shake it up. Okay. What would happen? If, let's do this all over again and see if it shakes out different. And again, alt universe and again,
we talked about that.
It's your tabletop, your rules, right? Just like we talk about my layout, my rules, and
there's no wrong way to play.
Right.
And we talk about that too. It's like if we got some people in the community that want it come, if somebody hits 20 home runs, damn it, they better hit 20 home runs. And if this pitcher went 8 innings in this game, damn it, he's going 8. It's like, then just go look up the box score on the internet. You're playing it here. I play it for 2 reasons. One, to see what my results are going to be, and to how close can I get to real life? Or is it going to be very different? And to Ray's point about going back and playing certain games, I find that if I go back to a game and I try to recreate it, I get disappointed because this guy is not going to score 5 goals in the game. This goalie's not going to make 70 saves. He's not going to be a tug nut and make 70 saves. So when I go back and I say, hey, remember this game? And I think I did the Mickey Mouse game, the Wayne Gretzky Mickey Mouse game.
The New Jersey Edmonton
Was
game.
it 13-5? They beat the New Jersey Devils, and Wayne Gretzky says the New Jersey Devils are a Mickey Mouse organization. I replayed that game in a couple of things, and the Devils were winning through 2 periods, and Edmonton came back to win by like a goal or 2. I never got anywhere as close to 13-5. So I find if I try to go back and find that one game, I can never do it. I just get disappointed. So I just need to play and let that stuff happen naturally.
I think the other thing, you take a step back, season results. How in the world on the tabletop are the 69 Mets getting to the World Series? They had no offense. They get Don Clendenin in the middle of July. He's their power. They pitched like crazy. I mean, they could pitch, but that team never beat. Baltimore won 130,000 games. I mean, seriously, I think they went 108 and 52 to regular season. The Mets won that World Series. 78 Brewers. always overperform. I mean, there are certain teams. I mean, we talked the 72 Rangers. You and I went back and forth for 2 hours one day talking about the 70, how you couldn't get the Bruins to beat the 72 Rangers. Well, in every sim that we tried them in, the 70 Action PC, Strat, the Bruins could beat them. And then we went to Sports Reference, Hockey Reference, and went, well, because the Rangers had a shooting percentage of 22%. You're not beating teams if they can get shots on net.
Yeah, and that was both games. That was both APPA and Hockey Bones. I played it in, and the Phil Esposito scoring range was this,
right?
And then Jean Rattel was this. So everybody for the Rangers had a higher chance to get it on net and score a goal, and they were getting. I think they got swept. I think it was either 4-0 or 4-1.
4-1.
You know,
and again, you know, I think sometimes it comes down to that real life is the anomaly. I mean, if you took the 80 U.S. Olympic hockey team, first, how many times out of 10, even if you just rated them on their Olympic performance, which not a lot of the games did, how many times they win?
Best quote of the night. Real life is the anomaly.
There are times that real life is the anomaly. I mean, seriously, if you go back and yep, okay, Tim said Larry Bowa just homered in his 84 Cubs replay. I forgot Larry played for the Cubs that year using Diamond Mine. He had no homers. I'm okay with it. You know, if you replayed those Patriot Giant Super Bowls, how many times have the Giants beaten the Patriots on your tabletop? None.
How many times have I played the 70-71 NHL playoffs and the Bruins win every time? They blow right by the Canadians. They blow right by they win it. They win the Stanley Cup every time. They're so powerful in 70-71. Somehow they didn't get it done. Now, Grant, how do you handle things like that when teams just catch fire? Is that like
a Kenny
they got a hot goalie, a hot quarterback, they get a hot bat, whatever it is. How does a game designer handle those like intangibles, those things that just can't be carded?
You know, I continually think, how do I do that? Even right today, I was playing one of my BC Lions games for this year, and early the first game of the year they played in Toronto, and Toronto won the game. And the game I just replayed, BC won it quite handily. But the difference in the game, the Lions, they just weren't quite ready to play. It was the first game of the season; they weren't quite ready to play. And I'm just thinking, how can I incorporate that in the game? And just thinking, it's not possible. It's just not. So you just have to go with the stats, with what they are. You know, that 70-71 series with the Bruins and the Canadians, I played that a couple times, and Dryden was he was the dominant. And, you know, that defense, they just kind of went into a shutdown mode, and Dryden didn't let any goals in. And so his statistics that year were also amazingly good. You know, there's a lot of goalies, though, that get into the playoffs who didn't have a good regular season. They have a big playoff.
186.
Yeah, right. So do you I guess you could remake the goalie for the playoffs. So I don't do that, but that would be a way of getting around that.
In a fictional scenario like you do, Steve, you'd have teams that are probably dominant in your regular season and poop the bed in the playoffs, to quote Al. You know, I mean, that must happen even with that, right?
Sure. Yeah, that's why you roll the games out, right? So,
right. Oh, exactly.
And you never know. Yeah, you get a rare play or someone gets injured, and trying to think the first Hockey Blast season that came out, I actually ran a full fictional set. When it came out, I ran like a 10-game mini season, and there was one team that just could not be stopped. And then they just went ice cold in the playoffs. And another team that just, like the last game of the season, snuck into the playoffs. Then they got hot and ran the.
Sounds like the Florida Panthers last year.
Yeah, and that's cool, right? That's why I actually have really enjoyed fictional leagues. Steve and I are in a baseball league together.
Okay.
And I really like the basketball. I've been getting into the basketball. It's a fictional. If you would ask me 3 or 4 years ago, I was like, yeah, not interested. But I really, really enjoy the fictional leagues.
Interesting.
To create a real emulation, you would have to like create a game that's probably so long nobody would want to play it. Like, you know, all the reasons why an athlete may or may not perform as the numbers say they should. You know, like got in fight with wife before they left to go to the stadium kind of things, or you know what I mean? Like how many elements could you really, the human element, right? You've got to be able to create,
trying
human
to do that on the
things,
computer,
right?
With OOTP to some degree, or Football Manager, where I did a couple of those videos, and it's the only time I ever dropped an F-bomb on a stream, and I didn't realize I did it. Gardner's talking to me afterwards. You realize you dropped an F-bomb?
You got really mad.
Ron goes blue. Holy
Ron goes, try very carefully to parse my language.
You got frustrated with that game. It really did.
And again, you're dealing with press and it's not, did you leave the iron on? Did you leave the stove on the way to work, or did you catch your wife shagging the pool boy or whatever it was? But but you would need something along that line of that, and I think you're right that you would need something that would just take forever to play in order to do that. And where's the fun in that? And I think that for me, to go back to that Football Manager stuff, was it just wasn't fun. I mean, you had to take courses to figure out how to play the game.
Yeah. Grant, I wanted to show you this right here, and we had Dave Arlington talk about this. What would you do with this? I don't know if you can see Daniel Berthiaume here. Okay. Now, if you follow, this is the Ottawa Senators, 93-94 Ottawa Senators. He played in one game, okay, two goals against, and he played 1 minute. And so his goals against is 184.62. And so I think I don't know if Dave Arlington's still watching us here, but he did card it. I did buy that season. I do have that goalie here. And I guess there is almost no way he could make a save on that card, except like if there was a penalty shot situation. But I mean, how do you handle anomalies like this? I think what happened is they pulled the regular goalie, put him in. He gave up 2 goals in a minute or a minute and a half. And they took him out and put the other guy back in.
That was it. Career over.
That's.
But how do you handle something like that? I mean, that's like a pitcher going in and giving up like 2 grand slams in an inning and never pitching again. How do you card that?
2 pitches. On 2 pitches. Yeah.
I've got the 2 sides to, there's a shooter taking a shot and he has to make a quality shot in order to score a goal. And then there's the goalie who also rolls on it. So you're rolling a D12 for the goalie and you're rolling a D20 for the shooter. And he'd probably have a 1. He's probably still have a chance to make a save because I don't have a 0. So he'd be rated a 1-1. So you roll a D12. If you roll a 1 on the 1 to 12, then he would make the save. But the shooter still has to make the shot too. So that's just kind of the approach I took. I didn't go any crazier than that. I just took the stats for what they are.
It's funny. Craig Billington comes up because I watched on YouTube today a Rangers Bruins replay, like YouTube. There's a guy that's got all the Rangers games, and every once in a while I watch. So the short 95 season, it was the Rangers' last game at the old Boston Garden, and Billington was their goaltender. So they had acquired Billington. And he gave up 2 goals in the first period. In the second, they put in Blaine Locker. It's like, wow, just 2 goals against the defending Stanley Cup champs, and he got yanked. It was just funny. He got pulled for Blaine Locker.
For Blaine Locker, that's a sore spot out here in Boston.
Yeah, that's really
true. Steve, I got another question for you here.
Sure.
Talking about complexity of a game versus the fun of a game. Are you okay playing a really simple, basic game if it's fun, or do you need to be challenged? Do you want some complexity to a game, even if it sacrifices some of the fun?
I guess I want a little complexity. Unless I'm running like a season project, I'm not really interested in ones that are just score generators. Just roll 1 die and it was 5-4 or whatever. That doesn't interest me. So I do want a little something to it, but it really varies game by game. Earlier I was telling you guys about that Master game.
That sounds fun.
And just you talk about a simple concept, but just I honestly I couldn't tell you how many games I played and got my kids to play it too, and it was just fun and it just worked. So no, I guess I don't go into any game with any preconceived notions and see how it hits me. And and then that's, again, while like I do playthroughs on my channel instead of, edited reviews, so you can actually see what the flow of the game is. And, but yeah, I mean, I like there to be a little complexity to it. I want to make meaningful decisions. I guess that would probably be the thing. It's not so much the complexity of the game, but I want to be able to feel that I'm impacting the results, that I'm not just a spectator of, of the game that's happening.
I'm a little bit of both. You got to have fun. If it's too complex and you're not having fun, then what's the sense,
Sure.
But there's also a little bit of a chest pounding here. When I was playing Grant's Quick Decks football game, I consider that a pretty detailed game. I figured that's a complex game. However, I followed it pretty much every step of the way, and I'm playing this game and I'm like, wow, this is really complex, but I'm following it. I'm getting results. And, there was a couple of questions I had for him, but for the most part, I kind of felt pretty good that I was playing a game that had a lot of steps and a lot of depth to it. And I was like, I'm having no problem here, and so there's a little bit of that for me too. Sometimes when you play a complex game, there's a little bit of, I get it. I solved the puzzle, and that you don't get that with a basic game sometimes.
I play super advanced strat on the PC. Of course, it does all the bookkeeping. But baseball game, I'm rolling my own dice for that. And I didn't think if Tebow was here, he's very good at the APPA Master game. And those are two pretty hardcore editions of baseball. But I think if you play it enough and enjoy it enough that you don't think of it as complex. You think of it as you kind of go through and play the game. But, you can go through and do like an APPA basic the next game, or a pocket pennant run, which doesn't really take all that much to do. And they're not bad games because they're basic games. But I think if you find something that scratches your itch and you go all the way with it, make it as complex as on the surface, then it's not complex to you. You know what to do. You know how to read it. I can do a game on the computer in about 20 minutes, rolling my own dice and then inputting the dice rolls. Now, the one thing that you cannot do on the computer for Strat Super Advanced that you have to on the tabletop is that you are not rolling. It's rolling behind the scenes to jump for when you're trying to steal, and hit and runs and wild pitches and balls. That roll is hidden from you, so it'll just do it. But beyond that, you are controlling everything else. And again, I think it depends on what your comfort level is. How much of that do you want to go? And so, yes, they're technically. I've never played the APPA Master game, so it's not complex once you get used to it. I mean, look at you with APPA football. The first thing you did was you went out and bought the master game to institute the plays and did that. And so that is...
I'm picking and choosing my master rules
right,
for that. I really
right.
am, because there's a lot more, and Greg, if he was here, he could go into detail about that. There's a lot more you could do with that advanced master APPA football.
Right.
I'm finding that I wanted just a little bit more than basic. The master book is great. A couple of master rules, and it's like, I got my sweet spot. And like they were saying here, Pesky Paul, it's about the immersion, and you need a game that produces that. And I find that sometimes, it's almost like the mama bear, baby bear, and the porridge, too hot, too cold, somewhere in the middle. That's my sweet spot. That's what I enjoy. And this is where I'm getting the most out of this game, is right here. It's not the basic. It's not the master. It's a little bit of both. And it's like, oh, this is so good.
I mean, it's in replay. It's the blue die. In the basketball game, it's that blue die. Did you block the shot, or is it going in? I mean, that's, so yeah. So that's how I'd answer it.
It's like right in the balance of not being work, right? You don't want it to be work. You just want it to be challenging and fun, but not work.
There are games that I'm not going to mention that I enjoyed, but you'd have to be such a hardcore fan of that sport to get what that designer wanted you to get out of it, that I was never going to enjoy it in that way. The game is a piece of art. It really is. But, oh my gosh, no. And so Yeah, you never want it to be work. If you're finding it just being in solving an algebraic equation, it not fun.
Yeah.
Hey, going back to testing the games, Ron and I were talking about that earlier, play testing and beta testing, whatever it is. Craig Harris from Pocket Pennant Run just sent me a little image. And this is something Ron picked up on. So when playing the new Pocket Pennant module on the computer, if you hit a home run, it shows all these people cheering, right?
Right.
Well, Ron says, why are these people cheering when the visitors hit a home run? So Craig has got a new graphic to show people being angry at the home run at the visitors. and that's the stuff that makes this fun. Is that I didn't pick up on that, and Ron picked up on that. I'm thinking you're going to celebrate a home run. He's like, why would the home team celebrate a visiting home run? So I guess Craig just added a new graphic into the module. So if the visitors hit a home run and some angry people, isn't that great? It's great. I love stories like that. That's fun.
So, yeah.
So anyway, all right. Well, we could probably wrap this up here. This has been the 5th year anniversary show of the Digital Tonights podcast. We had some great guests on. We have some great guests on right now. Holy cow! Yeah, let me get that out.
3-hour mark showing right now. Yeah.
yeah. But anyway, yeah, we want to thank everybody. Yeah, everybody that tuned in tonight, that's been tuning into the show for the last 5 years or however long it's been. Again, it's just a blink of an eye and 5 years goes by, and it's just been fun. And, this group right here is kind of indicative of what we've tried to do on the show, where we have, we're on talking, we have game developers on, we have people who do some YouTube channels and play testing. And then we have, Ray on, who's not in the gaming world, so to speak, but he still follows the show and he's part of the community. And so that's kind of what we're all about, is kind of, it's not just one dimensional here. We like to have a whole bunch of things going on here on the channel. And we really like the feedback shows, and we put out the questions and you guys give us the feedback. We spend the whole show reading our feedback. Those are some of our favorite shows, because that really goes to show what's going on in the community, so to speak. So all right, so let's go around the table. We'll get some final words here. Ray, we'll start with you because you're in the bottom corner over here. Any final words from you, Ray?
No, just hey, congratulations to you guys. Looking forward to the 10th year anniversary celebration. Maybe I'll be around for that. So
I'm hoping to get to 6.
I'll help you with the Medicare paperwork. Okay?
there you go.
Grant, again, thanks for coming on. We chatted offline one day, and it's great to talk to you again.
Yep. Thanks for having me on, and for everything you guys do for everybody, Steve and Ron and everybody else that's out there who does their content. It helps out guys like myself trying to create games. So thank you, and keep up the great work, guys.
We'd love to have you on just to chat, do a show with just you. So
yeah, we're going to have you on we'll have you on for a proper show. Yeah, we will.
Sounds good. Looking forward to it. Thanks,
Steve.
All right. Well, congratulations on the 5 years. And I'm looking forward to episode 291.
That's right.
You come on. You come on every 100 episodes, right?
That's so. Hopefully,
What are we on? 220.
This is 231.
Oh, so you're coming up.
So it's gonna be. Yeah, I know. I remember. It felt like the time between 91 and 191. It was like, oh wow, because it was just a joke.
Happened, didn't it? That wasn't planned. That just happened, right?
Yeah. Well, no, I did reach out to you, like just kind of as a joke. And I was like, hey, you're coming up on my episode. And yeah.
Well, we do 46.2 of these a year. So
yeah. But yeah, great stuff. I really appreciate all the stuff you guys do. And like I said, it makes it a bigger world, but a tighter community. So thank you.
Ron.
Well,
5 years, buddy. We're starting. We finished 5. We're starting 6.
This is the start of our 6th year. I think the next one will be, and we couldn't do this without you guys out there. I mean, you're the ones that listened and given us the feedback and tell us what you want to talk about and share your passion. And I'm glad that we've given you a way to do that. And obviously, I wish Al was here tonight. It was Al and Steve Tower to some degree that, laid the groundwork for what we do, that there was an audience for people who want to know about this stuff. And we've made some good friends along the way. And 5 years from tonight, hopefully we're doing this for 10 in episode 460, whatever, 462. So so thank you all out there for being part of this journey. It's been wonderful.
It
Just
is. Yeah.
you guys got to keep going until you get to my area code, which is 860. So you got a ways to go.
So when I'm at the home,
Wow. I don't know what kind of games we'll be playing then. Maybe they'll be hooked up through our brain or something like that at that point, you know.
Here, change my depends. I got to change my picture.
At that point, I hope they have those punch cards where I get those sandwiches right out of the machine.
Oh, there you go.
So anyway, yes, this has been our 5-year anniversary show. We want to thank everybody that's tuned in, everybody that joined us tonight. And again, in 2 weeks, on Sunday, July 28th, we are scheduled to kick off year 6 with Keith Avalone from the Play Games. We can't wait to have him on. It's going to be his first time on here. And so we're looking forward to that on a Sunday night on July 28th. But
Body Painting Blast. I can't believe he's making a game on body.
Yeah. Well, you know, you were beta testing it, so.
You weren't supposed to say that.
Again, that's for the after show, Dave.
That's the after show. Everybody, thank you for tuning in, and we'll talk to you next time. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.